Chapter 403 Golden Sea of Sand in the Heaven Reverse Domain. The golden desert stretched as far as the eye could see, and its height was uneven. As the wind blew past, a corner of the white bones buried in the desert was gradually revealed. There were human bones, and there were also demon bones. Wang Kai and Lu Tian, under the guidance of General Sun, stepped into the air and landed on the desert. Looking at the endless golden desert, they could not help but recall the divine martial dynasty in Fanzhou. The divine martial dynasty's territory was also covered in such a desert. However, the golden sea of sand here looked even more desolate and gave people a sense of loneliness and desolation, especially when he saw the white bones buried in the sand. As the wind eroded the sand, holes and cracks appeared on the bones. Is the so-called Tao God's relic here? Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and stepped steadily on the golden sand as if he was strolling in his own garden. As for Lu Tian, even though he was at the immortal emperor realm, his feet would always sink into the sand when he felt uncomfortable. Even though General Sun was not affected by the golden sand, after seeing Wang Kai's relaxed appearance, he could not help but ask in surprise, "Does sect leader Wang come here often?" Bang! Wang Kai did not respond. Instead, he raised his hand and slapped General Sun into the sand. He said indifferently, "Don't talk so much nonsense. This is the first time Ben Xiao has come here. He can walk on the sand so easily because Ben Xiao has perfect control over his strength. Well, at least no one in the 8 barren lands can compare to him. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points." Cough, 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 cough. General Sun crawled up with a face full of yellow sand. He patted the sand off his body and swallowed a lot of it. When he heard this, he immediately smiled bitterly and said, "Sect leader Wang, please don't joke with me. This golden sea of sand is not an ordinary place. Without reaching the Tao realm, one cannot move freely on it. Of course, if one is used to the desert, one can do the same as a Tao realm expert." Tao realm? Used to the desert? Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this. Unfortunately, he seemed to have achieved both of these methods to move freely in the golden sea of sand. "Where are the ruins of the Tao God?" Wang Kai asked calmly. His eyes scanned the sea of golden sand. After looking left and right, his eyes suddenly narrowed. At the place where Wang Kai was looking, there was a man and a woman lying on the ground. Only their eyes could be seen, and no matter how the sand and wind blew, they couldn't even blink. "Cousin, why do I feel like that kid has discovered us?" The man with big eyes on the left asked in surprise. The woman on the right replied with a voice transmission, "Cousin, don't talk nonsense. He must have looked in our direction by coincidence. That's not right. That kid is clearly looking into our eyes." The man transmitted his voice in confusion. "Cousin, are you stupid? In the future, eat less of those stupid lizard heads. You've eaten your own head until it's stupid. That kid is so young, so how could he be stronger than us?" The woman snorted in disdain. The man's eyes didn't move when he heard this, and he transmitted his voice as if he suddenly understood. "Cousin is right. We're all spiritual pedestal tier elites who grew up in the golden sea of sand. In terms of concealment, even those of the Tao realm would find it difficult to discover us. It's impossible for them to discover us." But just as he finished speaking, he heard the woman exclaim in disbelief, "Cousin, you seem to have guessed correctly. That kid is walking towards us. Oh heavens, he's been staring at us. He's discovered us as expected." The man's heart instantly jumped violently. He glared at Wang Kai, who was walking over, and his eyes especially seemed to be meeting his own. "Sect Master Wang, 300 miles ahead of here is where the ruins of the Tao God are. It's faster for us to walk on air," General Sun said respectfully as he followed behind. He wanted to reach the ruins as soon as possible so that he could take the opportunity to escape. As for relying on the mansion of Heaven Do to deal with Wang Kai, General Sun didn't even think about it. The mansion of Heaven Do was no match for Wang Kai, who was in the Emperor God realm, unless the ruler of Heaven Do could do it himself. However, because the mansion of Heaven Do wanted to monopolize the ruins, the ruler of Heaven Do, didn't know about the ruins at all. If the mansion of Heaven Do ran into Wang Kai later, he would regret his idea of monopolizing the ruins, wouldn't he? General Sun didn't know why, but he felt a little excited when he thought of this. It was as if it was a good thing to make the mansion of Heaven Do suffer a loss. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and ignored General Sunday. Instead, he looked at the two people hiding in the desert in a mocking manner. When he was about 100 meters away from the hiding place, he stopped abruptly. "Sect Master, let's walk on air. This damn desert is too difficult to walk on." Lu Tian mumbled with a gloomy face. He couldn't control his feet every time. Or rather, even if he could control his feet, he couldn't do anything about the golden sea of sand. Until now, Lu Tian's legs were still buried deep in the desert. If he didn't move, he could be buried in the sand at any time. "Lu Tian, I'm giving you the first order. Go up 100 meters and take a piss." "Well, I'll show you the exact location." Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and sent him a message with a smile. Lu Tian was taken aback by the message. He glanced at Wang Kai with fear and then at the place 100 meters away. He couldn't help but ask tentatively, "Sect Master, what do you want to do?" "Cut the crap. Just go. I'm here. What are you afraid of?" Wang Kai shrugged and sent him a message impatiently. Lu Tian swallowed a mouthful of saliva when he heard that. He moved his feet and sent a voice transmission nervously. "Sect Master, rumor has it that there are many desert bandits in this golden sea of sand. Have you discovered them?" "Bandits?" As expected, they were up to no good. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. He was very curious about what the two people were doing hiding in the desert. Judging from their eyes, they must have had a bad intention. "I'm not sure if they're bandits, but I know very well that if you don't go now, you'll be sleeping in the desert forever, even if the bandits don't show up." Wang Kai shrugged and sent him a message playfully. Whoosh! Rustle, rustle, rustle. As soon as he said that, Lu Tian was so frightened that he shuddered. He immediately lifted his feet and walked forward unsteadily. Finally, under Wang Kai's instructions, Lu Tian stood directly in front of the two people who were hiding in the desert. "Go ahead." Wang Kai couldn't help but send him a message with a mischievous smile. Lu Tian swallowed his saliva and quickly unbuttoned his pants. He was about to pee in the desert under his feet. However, before he could pee, the desert under his feet suddenly flipped over. Along with it came a young man and a young woman whose faces were filled with anger. "Bastard!" Lu Tian was so frightened that his face turned pale. He couldn't help but spit out the water. Chapter 404. Bastard! The red-clothed lady's face turned red as she cried out. She quickly pulled the yellow-clothed man to her front, causing the yellow water to spray all over his body. "Phew! Awesome, awesome, ha ha ha!" Lu Tian's body trembled as he laughed loudly. The scattered yellow water splashed all over the man's face. Such a scene, such a touch, immediately caused the yellow-clothed man's face to become extremely distorted, especially when he felt the water dripping on his face. Ha ha! Wang Kai also could not help but laugh loudly on the spot. He held his stomach with one hand and pointed at the man whose clothes were soaked and whose face was covered with urine. It could be said that his laughter was earth-shattering. General Sun, who was standing at the side, was stunned. The corners of his mouth twitched violently. He wanted to laugh but could not. The fear in his heart grew. He was afraid that following the sect leader of the Heaven Sect would lead to some miserable things. "Bastard! Bastard! Damn you, give me your life!" The yellow-clothed man sternly scolded. The veins on his distorted face bulged. He flipped his hand and took out a golden saber. He aimed it at Lu Tian's head and slashed it. Sensing the pressure of the divine realm expert, Lu Tian was so frightened that his face turned pale. He quickly pulled up his pants and turned around, shouting, sect leader, save me!" Buzz! Clank! Bang! Suddenly, Wang Kai's figure appeared in a flash. He raised his hand and raised 2 fingers. He easily caught the golden saber between his fingers. Then, with a gentle push, the yellow-clothed man's body was sent flying and violently smashed into the desert. Sect leader, you can't trick me like this in the future. I still want to dominate the Eastern Wasteland and even the 8 Wastelands. How can I lose my life because of a pool of urine? Lu Tian's body trembled nonstop. He quickly put on his pants and patted his chest with lingering fear. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He could not help but pat Lu Tian's shoulder and said with a faint smile, "As the Grand Elder of the Heavens Sect, if you don't have such courage, how can you dominate the Eastern Wasteland? You still need to learn more in the future." Learn more? Learning how to pee and prank people? Although the purpose of these 2 bandits was not pure, they could not use themselves to test the waters. Wasn't that the same as risking their lives? Lu Tian was rather speechless in his heart. He really wanted to open his mouth and refute, but when he thought of the thrilling scene just now, he was instantly scared to the point of choking back his words. He was afraid that Wang Kai would make him do something even more shameful. "Bastard, which power are you from? How dare you come to the golden sea of sand and injure my cousin? Do you know that we are the yellow wind bandits of the yellow sand stronghold?" The red-clothed woman scolded in a delicate voice. She ran to the yellow-clothed man and wanted to help him up. However, when she saw his urine-soaked clothes, she frowned and stood to the side in disgust. This scene caused the yellow-clothed man to become even more furious. He tightly clutched his chest as he crawled up with blood at the corner of his mouth. He coldly swept a glance at Lu Tian before looking at Wang Kai and coldly saying, "From the looks of it, your cultivation level should not be weaker than the divine spirit stage, right? But don't be so arrogant. The head of the yellow sand stronghold is at the divine emperor stage. If you are smart, quickly hand over the divine stones and supreme weapons that you brought. After you leave all the treasures behind, I will let you leave safely." Divine emperor stage? Divine stones? Still want to rob? Wang Kai looked at them playfully. Before he spoke, he heard General Sun's voice transmission. "Sect leader Wang, the Yellow Sand Stronghold is the #1 power in the Golden Sea of Sand. This time, they will also have a share in the Tao God's relic." The Yellow Sand Stronghold also wants to go to the Tao God's relic? When Wang Kai heard this, he immediately raised his eyebrows and shrugged his shoulders. His expression was rather playful as he smiled and said, "Oh, an expert at the Divine Emperor's stage. Ben Shao is so scared. Since the Yellow Sand Stronghold is so awesome, the 2 of you can bring us over to have a look." You want to go?" The yellow-clothed man sneered and his face was filled with disdain. The red-clothed woman looked at Wang Kai as if she was an idiot. He knew that he was no match for them, yet he still wanted to go. What was the difference between him and a fool? When General Sun and Lu Tian saw this, they could not help but look at each other. Their eyes were filled with sorrow as they shook their heads and sighed. "The Yellow Sand Stronghold, a grade 7 power. I am afraid that you will end up like the Sky-Bearing sect." Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders casually. With his hands behind his back, he smiled faintly and said, "That's right. Ben Shao does want to go to the Yellow Sand Stronghold to have a look. Lead the way. Looking at you, you should be a disciple of a big power, right? A flower that grows in a greenhouse. A rash person who has just entered the world. You are really courting death." The yellow-clothed man and the red-clothed woman looked at each other and sneered sarcastically. "Walala bang." As soon as the yellow-clothed man finished speaking, he raised his hand and waved. Under the desert, the skeleton of a demonic beast lizard that was the size of a house appeared. On the back of the skeleton, there was a seat carved out. "Since you want to die, follow us." The yellow-clothed man sneered. Whoosh, whoosh. Immediately, the yellow-clothed man and the woman looked at each other and nodded. Together, they leaped onto the lizard skeleton. However, they had just sat down when a sudden gust of wind swept them down. "Who do you think you are? How dare you let Ben Shao follow behind you? Why are you sitting? Get lost and go pull the cart." Wang Kai snorted coldly with a disdainful expression. As he spoke, his body had already sat on the seat of the lizard skeleton. "Sha sha sha pay. Pay pay pay." The woman flipped over and stood up from the sand. She opened her red lips and continuously spat out sand. In particular, After hearing Wang Kai's words, she was so angry that her delicate body trembled nonstop. Bang! The yellow-clothed man was in an even worse state. He was just about to stand up when he was sent flying by Lu Tian's kick. Sect leader has ordered you to go pull the cart. Why are you still dawdling here? Lu Tian swung his arms and snorted in an extremely arrogant manner. After speaking, he also sat on the back of the skeleton. You. The woman was so angry that her beautiful eyes were filled with tears. Her rather pretty face was filled with grievance. She tightly pursed her lips, as if she would burst into tears in the next moment. What about you? There are 360 professions, and each profession has its own master. Instead of doing a good job, you chose to be a robber. Get lost and pull the cart at once. If you are slow or bumpy, don't blame Ben Shao for being merciless. Wang Kai snorted disdainfully. With a flip of his hand, waves of pressure swept out. Immediately, the woman and the yellow-clothed man were swept to the front of the skeleton. Seeing this, Lu Tian dryly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He rubbed his hands and softly said, "Sect leader, shouldn't we show some tenderness to the fairer sex? Does she smell good? Is she a jade? Is there any jade that is a robber? The path that she chose has encountered a tough obstacle. That is a trap of her own making. What is even more hateful is that she actually dares to have designs on Ben Shao. If you really can't bear it, you can go down and pull the cart with her. Who knows? She might really fall in love with you." Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and said with a playful smile, "Bastard! Who would fall in love with such a despicable, shameless lecher?" The woman in red cursed in a delicate voice. She glared at Lu Tian with disdain, especially when she recalled the scene just now. Her pretty face turned red, and she became even angrier. Lu Tian's expression stiffened when he heard this. He snorted unhappily and immediately waved his arms. He shouted loudly, "What nonsense are you talking about? Bitch, hurry up and pull the cart. If you don't pull it, be careful that your Uncle Lu will strip you naked to pull the cart. All right, that whatever general's son, you should also go to the front and pull the cart with them. As the strongest force in a region, instead of doing good things, you actually did bad things. How can a benevolent and kind person like Ben Shao tolerate it?" Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said with a rather proud smile, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. Obtained 100,000 experience. Bragging value 100 points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through the realm and reaching the 4th stage of the Dao Profound Realm." General Sun smiled bitterly when he heard this. Even though there was a myriad of anger in his heart, he had no choice but to endure it. Who asked his strength to be inferior to others? Chapter 405. Withered Lion Sea. Wang Kai and the rest traveled swiftly, traversing several hundred miles. As black withered trees came into view, everyone's footsteps involuntarily came to a halt. Everyone had nervous expressions, and their movements were extremely light, causing their speed to become slower and slower. It was as if they were thieves. Even the yellow sand stockade master, who was a divine emperor, was on his guard. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He glanced at the sea of sand, which was covered with black withered wood. He sensed that there were many powerful auras. There were more than 10,000 of them. However, the levels of those auras should be between the divine path realm and the divine spirit realm. As for the divine emperors that were a little higher, they were extremely rare, and there were only a dozen of them. Are those lion beasts? Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. Using his soul perception, he discovered that there were many yellow lion beasts standing 100 miles ahead of him. Their fur was like golden sand, and they had long black tails. Their claws were black, and they were shining with sharp black light. The lion beasts had human bodies, and they were standing in groups of 3 to 5. Sect Master, it's the territory of the Sand Sea Lions. There are more than a dozen divine Emperor Realm Lions, and there's an Emperor God Lion King. Should we take a detour? The Yellow Sand Stockade Master asked in a low voice. There is an Emperor God Lion King? Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. He couldn't help but spread out his spirit to investigate carefully, But in the end, he didn't find the so-called lion god emperor. There are more than a dozen divine emperor realm lion beasts. Why didn't Ben Shao find the emperor god lion beasts? Wang Kai asked with a strange expression. Everyone was stunned when they heard this, and they also looked at Wang Kai strangely. Sect Master, did you scan the area with your spiritual soul? The Yellow Sand Stockade Master asked with an ugly expression. Then according to you, Ben Shao's ability is inferior to that group of lion demons? Wang Kai shrugged and pretended to be displeased as he snorted. The Yellow Sand Stockade Master should be very clear about his cultivation level. Since that was the case, why did he need to be so sneaky? Could it be that the so-called Mad Lion was really that powerful? Sect Master, to be honest, with your martial arts realm, you do not fear the pride of berserk lions, but we. The Yellow Sand Stronghold Master smiled bitterly. Everyone had a bitter expression on their faces, but it was too late to say anything now. Since Wang Kai had used his divine soul to spy on Mad Lion, he must have alerted the God Emperor level Lion King. Ayo ayo! Roar! As expected, a furious roar rang out. Following that, over 10,000 lion demons roared at the sky. They swayed their bodies and ran over like humans. Emperor God level. Why did it avoid Ben Shao's divine soul spying just now? Wang Kai frowned suddenly. The level of aura that was revealed by the first roar was definitely at the Emperor God level. But just now he did not discover it. Moreover, it was only revealed for a moment. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared again. There was no trace at all. The Yellow Sand Stockade Master shook his head and smiled bitterly. If not for Wang Kai's strength being too strong, he really wanted to beat him to the ground and punish him severely. Sect Master, within this withered wood lion sea, everything is under the control of the Lion King at the God Emperor level. The surrounding withered wood can block Sect Master's divine soul from prying. Of course, only the Lion King can use it. Even if it's a Tao profound realm expert, within the withered wood lion sea, they would also be unable to do anything to the Lion King. Yellow Sand Stronghold Chief said with a bitter smile. Caused by withered wood? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He couldn't help but wave his hand and split the dead tree into two halves. Holding one of the halves in his hand, he looked at it over and over again, but he still couldn't figure out what it was. Formation. Boy, if you have cultivated the way of beast controlling, you can take these lion demons for your own use. Even if your strength is a little weaker, the number is enough to make up for the lack of strength. Dominating a region is also not a problem, Cat Lord said with a smile, while stroking his long beard in the heavenly reaching tower. So, it was a formation restriction? A formation with withered wood. He did not expect that even lion demons knew how to set up a formation. The corners of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He flipped his hand and threw the dead wood into the desert. Then he smiled faintly and said, "This young master was already the founder of the way of beast control 100,000 years ago. It's too easy for a mere lion demon to control it." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. Obtained 100,000 experience, 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the way of beast controlling. Immediately, Wang Kai opened the system store again and scanned for the magical powers and techniques. Finally, he urged his mind and said with a smile, "Cultivate the soul-controlling art of 10,000 beasts." Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the magical power, soul-controlling art of 10,000 beasts. 300 bragging points have been consumed. Lowly human race, if you want to pass through the sea of withered wood lions, you have to tuck your tail between your legs. Don't you know this rule? Rumble, rumble. The tens of thousands of golden-haired lions appeared together. As far as the eye could see, they were all lion heads with their mouths wide open and blood-red eyes. With such a large number of lions gathered together, it was indeed a bit frightening. If others pass by here, they may secretly avoid you. However, Ben Shao, unfortunately, needs you to take the initiative to kneel down and greet him. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled coldly. Roar, roar, roar. Such words immediately caused the lions to roar angrily. Immediately, they shook their bodies and took large strides to attack. God, this... Oh no! With such a large number, how can we fight against them? Everyone's backs were drenched in cold sweat. They wanted to turn around and run away. However, they knew very well that even if they ran away, they could not escape. Over 10,000 lions, all of whom were at the divine realm. Wouldn't it be easy for them to chase and kill hundreds of people? Moreover, there was still the Emperor God Lion King, who had not appeared yet. Even Lu Tian was trembling at this moment. He swallowed his saliva crazily and turned around. He ran behind Wang Kai and said dryly, "Sect Master, it's time to show your mighty figure." The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched when he heard this. He grabbed Lu Tian in disgust and threw him in the direction of the berserk lions amidst Lu Tian's crazy screams. F***CK, Sect Master, you can't play with me like this. I still want to dominate the Eastern Wilderness and even the 8 Wilderness. Lu Tian spun in the air and shouted. If he had not peed before, he would have definitely peed at this moment. Divine power, soul-controlling art of 10,000 beasts. Suddenly, Wang Kai's body flashed and came in front of the lions. He stood in the air and pressed his hand forward. Buzz! Tens of thousands of black chains flew out from Wang Kai's palm and wrapped around the necks of over 10,000 lions. Instantly, their attacking bodies were frozen on the spot. Emperor God Lion King, if you still don't appear, I will destroy the array of withered trees here. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled mockingly. Then he pulled his arm back abruptly. Plop! Rumble! In an instant, under the pull of the black chains, over 10,000 berserk lions were all pulled onto the desert. Such a scene instantly made everyone's eyes open wide, and they were extremely shocked. They had never thought that Wang Kai had cultivated the beast-controlling divine power. Chapter 406. Heavens, why is he so powerful? Just what kind of character did I provoke for the Yellow Sand stronghold? Could he be a devil? Han Yu and Huang Si were both dumbfounded. Their minds were blank, and despair spread in their hearts. So much so that many of those yellow wind bandits glared at them angrily. As Tao profound realm powerhouses, it was already shocking enough. Yet it just had to be a powerhouse who cultivated the Tao of beast controlling. If he really controlled the wild lion, ruling the entire Heaven Reverse region was nothing difficult. At that time, how would they break away from the Heaven Reverse sect? Even if the Heaven Reverse region lord came, it would be too late, right? Moreover, Wang Kai was similarly in the Tao Profound realm. It was still unknown who was stronger between him and the Heaven Reverse region lord. Lowly human, what do you want? Roar! Roar! Suddenly, the desert rolled up. A 7 to 8 meter tall, golden-furred, wild lion stood up from under the sand. It bent over and stared with blood-red eyes, baring its fangs and clenching its claws as it looked down at Wang Kai. Those wild lions that were bound by the divine ability all let out low, mournful cries when they saw the appearance of the Lion King. They wanted to struggle up, but they could not move at all. Very simple. Come and be the guardian divine beast of the Heaven Reverse sect. Follow this sect master to flatten the Eastern Wilderness, smash the 8 desolates, and awe the world, Wang Kai said with a rather proud smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. Obtained 100,000 experience. Bragging points 100. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 5th grade Tao Profound realm. Swoosh. The moment these words came out, everyone was stunned. Although it was somewhat hot-blooded, thinking about such bragging words, it was really courting death. If you can defeat this king with your own strength. Before the Lion King finished speaking, he was interrupted by Wang Kai with a wave of his hand. He smiled faintly and said, "Don't think that this sect master only knows the Tao of beast controlling. Come and attack." That's right. Since he cultivates the Tao of beast controlling, why is there no demonic beast accompanying him? As a cultivator of the Tao of beast controlling, he should not have any strength. That's right. Cultivators of the Tao of beast controlling fight with the demonic beasts they control. But he clearly defeated us with martial arts. Heavens! Could it be that he was cultivating multiple Tao arts at the same time? That's a level that only the geniuses of the Eastern Royal Domain can reach. Everyone was shocked, especially the chief of Yellow Sand Stronghold. At this moment, he was already in a daze. Lu Tian gulped. In the Sky Pillar sect, Wang Kai had killed Di Xian and the old ancestor with the martial Tao. That couldn't be faked. Now, he was even using the Tao of beast taming. On the other hand, Hong Yu and Huang Si were much calmer, or rather, they were numb. In their hearts, other than despair, there was no other emotion. Wang Kai's abilities and mysteries were hard to fathom. No one knew how many tricks he had up his sleeves. Little did they know that Wang Kai's way of bragging could accommodate any way. Even if he was cultivating the way of beast control, he could still use martial arts to fight against his enemies. Human, if you keep bluffing, you will die a horrible death. The Lion King opened his bloody mouth and spoke with a cold and hoarse voice. He waved his black claws and suddenly slashed down. Bang! Patter! However, Wang Kai didn't move at all. He only raised his hand and easily grasped the Lion King's claws in his hand. There wasn't even a trace of vibration. It was as if the Lion King's attack was just scratching an itch. Now, do you know the gap between us? A peak Emperor God is indeed a very good guardian divine beast. Soul control, art of 10,000 beasts. Buzz. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, the Lion King looked in horror at the black chains that pierced through Wang Kai's hand and extended to the Lion King's entire body through his claws. Plop. When the Lion King was completely bound by the black chains, Wang Kai gently waved his hand and threw him into the desert, causing smoke and dust to rise. Lu Tian, I'll leave them to you. Let's call them the Golden Lion Hall, the first-generation guardian divine beast of Discord sect. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled. Lu Tian's mouth twitched when he heard that. He looked at the wild lions lying on the ground, and his heart was beating nonstop. He said with a head full of cold sweat, Sect Master, are you sure you're not tricking me? Will they listen to you? Lu Tian couldn't help but shiver when he thought about how Wang Kai had thrown him into the pride of wild lions. He didn't know if following him was an opportunity or a death wish. Perhaps it was both. However, he was walking down the path of death. As the Grand Elder of Discord sect, can you be a little braver? If you dare to embarrass me again, you will become their food. Wang Kai snorted with a dark face. Lu Tian's face turned ugly when he heard that. He thought to himself, if you hadn't tricked me so many times, would I be so afraid? Even Lu Tian, who was outspoken and often dissed others, was frightened by Wang Kai. Buzz. Wang Kai waved his hand and handed the source of the chain to Lu Tian. Lu Tian swallowed his saliva and took it carefully. When he pulled it tentatively, the 10,000 wild lions trembled. Even the Lion King, who was at the Emperor God level, was so frightened that his body was trembling. Rumor has it that once a demonic beast is controlled by a beast tamer, its life will be in the hands of a beast tamer. Lu Tian became bolder when he thought of that. He waved the black chains and scolded coldly. All of you, stand up and line up. Follow me and the sect master to dominate the eastern wilderness. Swoosh, swoosh, roar, roar. In an instant, under the lead of the Lion King, the berserk lions split into teams and stood neatly. Their eyes were filled with fear as they looked at the pitch-black chains. They knew very well that once the chains were broken, they would be doomed to die. Where is the Golden Lion Hall Master? Lu Tian put his hands on his waist and shouted arrogantly. Bang! The berserk lions blinked their blood-red eyes and looked at Lu Tian in confusion. Shouldn't the Hall Master of the Golden Lion Hall be you? However, in the end, when Lu Tian angrily glared at the Lion King finally reacted. He immediately stepped forward and shouted, Here! My name is Lu Tian, and I'm the first Grand Elder of the Discord sect. Today, you will be called Gold One, and you will be the Golden Lion Hall Master. You will be under my control. Let's start counting off. from left to right, with Gold One as the head. Count off. Lu Tian laughed and shouted again. 1. The Lion King Gold One shouted. 2. 3. 3 your ass. Bang. Suddenly, Wang Kai's face darkened. He flipped his hand and slapped Lu Tian, causing him to fall to the ground. He snorted fiercely. If I let you continue to report like this, when will you be able to stop? Why aren't you getting up and hurrying along? Sect Master, you can't treat this elder like this. You have to give this elder enough face. Lu Tian was so angry that his whole body trembled. He somersaulted and got up, holding the chains and snorting with an unfriendly expression. However, as soon as the words came out of his mouth, Lu Tian regretted it. He quickly wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and looked at Wang Kai's playful eyes. He immediately swallowed his saliva and said dryly, Sect Master your ass. Only this time, don't do it again. Bang! Under Wang Kai's slap, Lu Tian immediately fell to the ground again. He clutched his chest and kept spitting out sand. When he got up, he kicked the Lion King Gold One and scolded sternly, F***CK your ass, hurry up and follow me. Yes, Elder Lu, the Lion King Gold One replied in a muffled voice. In his heart, he despised Lu Tian and was extremely angry. Anyone could see that Lu Tian was venting his anger on Gold One. Chapter 407. After stepping through the Sea of Lions, an oasis appeared before everyone's eyes. The oasis wasn't large, only a few miles wide. Green grass surrounded a clear river, and the reflection of the blue sky caused the river to turn blue. It rippled gently with the breeze. On the shore of the oasis, there were 3 forces stationed there. They surrounded the oasis from 3 corners, and each side had a few hundred godly realm experts. All of them sat cross-legged on the shore as they stared at the center of the river. There was a protruding golden tiger's head there. The golden tiger's head was extremely large, half the size of a house. It opened its mouth angrily, and there was a staircase in the middle of its 4 ghastly fangs. When one looked into the mouth of the tiger, it was pitch black below its throat. However, there was a silver chain that was extremely eye-catching. Moreover, the chain was swaying slightly from time to time. A white-haired old man said indifferently, I wonder if the people who entered this time will be able to come out alive. A young man in a golden robe stood beside him. When he heard that, he smiled indifferently and said, Master, there's no need to worry. If those ants can't extend the chain further, then we can just recruit more soldiers. Eldest senior brother is right. There are countless ants in the Heavendo region. Our Heavendo Manor is a rank 7 faction. As long as we give those ants some benefits, they'll rush over. A blue-clothed young man smiled disdainfully. The many experts behind them also had mocking expressions on their faces when they heard this. The number of people who had entered the Tao God's relic had already reached 30,000. There were many weak people in the Heavendo region. If there weren't enough, then there could be substitutes at any time. The white-haired old man said indifferently, I heard from General Sun that many people have recently sought refuge with the Sky Pillar sect. If they successfully become disciples of the Sky Pillar sect, then it'll be difficult for us to recruit more soldiers. When the white-haired old man said that, the golden-clothed young man's face turned cold. He sneered, a mere Sky Pillar sect. Once our Heavendo Manor obtains the Tao God's relic, it'll be easy for us to dominate the Heavendo region. At that time, the Sky Pillar sect can forget about surviving. The blue-clothed young man snorted coldly. Humph. They just want to seize the opportunity to enter the Tao God's relic. That sect master Di Xian's Bullsh *T reputation is truly detestable. Rumble, rumble. Suddenly, a series of violent sounds were heard, causing everyone to stand up and turn their heads to look. When they saw the huge berserk lions, they were scared to the point that their faces turned pale. Heavens! That was the Lion King. Why did it lead the pride of berserk lions here? Could it be that you also want a share of the loot? No, that's not right. Demonic beasts can't cultivate human techniques. and it's even more impossible for them to obtain the legacy of a Tao god. Look, in front of those ferocious lions. Aren't those yellow-wind bandits? Bastard. They actually dared to collude with the Wild Lion King and come here. Are the yellow-wind bandits trying to monopolize the Tao god's relic? The generals and soldiers of the mansion of Heaven Do scolded with gloomy looks in their eyes. However, when they saw the tens of thousands of lions, their pale faces didn't turn for the better. Shut up. The yellow-wind bandits are not strong enough to make a deal with a wild lion monarch. Not even the Heaven Do mansion. Let's see what they want. The white-haired old man said with a frown. At the same time, the expert from the other two forces gathered and stood with the mansion of Heaven Do. It seemed that they intended to ally with the mansion of Heaven Do. Even so, there were only over 1,000 of them, and none of them were emperor gods. If they were to fight against the pride of berserk lions, they would lose in an instant. How dare you? How dare you occupy this cult master's back garden and trample on this cult master's lovely flowers and plants? Do you think your lives are too long? Don't you know that this oasis belongs to me? Wang Kai sat on the skeleton of the lizard and pretended to be angry. He stretched his neck and scolded harshly. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Whoosh! As soon as these words came out, the expressions of everyone who heard it were extremely startled. Almost subconsciously, they lowered their heads and looked around. There was indeed green grass, but where were the flowers? Also, according to the young man's words, this oasis was his back garden. How is that possible? Even if the crowd did not believe it in their hearts, when they saw Wang Kai's extremely, genuinely furious appearance, they were unable to make up their minds for a while. Don't listen to his nonsense. This place does not belong to anyone. Even if it does, it is under the jurisdiction of the mansion of Heaven Do. The white-haired old man scolded coldly. Under the jurisdiction of the mansion of Heaven Do? Whoosh! When Wang Kai was 100 meters away from the experts, he waved his hand and stopped the pride of berserk lions led by Lu Tian. Seeing that he was able to command the pride of wild lions so easily, and that even the Lion King was obediently listening to his orders, the white-robed old man and the other experts all frowned. Their expressions were as ugly as they could be. May I know who you are? General Sun? Why are you here? The eyes of the white-robed old man suddenly hardened. Only then did he discover that the person who was pulling the skeleton was his subordinate general. Seeing this, General Sun smiled bitterly. He spread out his hands and shook his head helplessly, saying, "Man or head, I have no choice." You. The mansion master looked at Wang Kai coldly and cupped his fists. May I know where you are from? I am from the mansion of Heaven Do. All right. Ben Xiao knows that you are the mansion master of Heaven Do and that you have a region master of the profound Tao realm. So, you can take your men and get the hell out of here. Wang Kai waved his hand to interrupt the old man and said impatiently, how dare he do this when he knew? Who is he? The mansion master frowned and glanced at the tens of thousands of berserk lions behind Wang Kai, especially the Lion King. He knew that he could not defeat them. However, the relic of the Tao God was right in front of him. Should he give up? Thinking of this, the mansion master clenched his teeth and said, May I know where you are from? The region master belongs to the Eastern royal family. Bang! Plop! All of a sudden, Wang Kai turned over his hand and slapped. A strand of energy swept over. The mansion master was sent flying into the air. He somersaulted dozens of times in the air and then fell heavily into the desert. The Eastern royal family is nothing. In front of this sect master's sky-defying sect, they have to kowtow obediently. Even Dong Wang, when he sees this sect master, he has to respectfully say that this sect master has great fortune. Wang Kai shrugged and sneered with a rather arrogant expression. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the 6th level of the profound Tao realm. Whoosh! Such a scene and such words immediately caused everyone's faces to stiffen. All of them widened their eyes as they stared at Wang Kai in shock. They had seen arrogant people, but never such an arrogant person. He had seen bragging, but he had never seen anyone who dared to mention Dong Huang's name. Chapter 408. In the Sky Fighting Sect, what kind of force was it? Why had he never heard of it? You are Wang Kai. Suddenly, the golden-robed young man from the mansion of Heaven Do widened his eyes and pointed at Wang Kai in shock. The blue-robed young man was even more shocked. He quickly took out a scroll and unrolled it. After comparing the two, he found that they were exactly the same. Both of them were in white and had delicate features. However, their smiles were a bit dissolute. At first glance, one could tell that they were not decent people. That's him. He is Wang Kai, the lecher who was chased by the princess of the East Royal Court. Lecher Wang Kai. Gosh, he really came to the Heaven Do domain. At this moment, everyone's faces were also filled with shock. All of them widened their eyes. Their gazes were strange, but there were also flames of envy and jealousy flickering within. Regarding the name of sex thief Wang Kai, he was extremely clear about it. Although he had never seen him in person, he had long heard of his name, and it was the kind of irritating news they had heard. Putting the female disciples of the big forces aside, the princess of the East Royal Court, Dongfang Xian, alone was enough to make many young people jealous. They couldn't wait to torture Wang Kai to death. Lecher Wang Kai, do you want to die? Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened, especially when he saw the female cultivators among the strong cultivators. At this moment, they were all hugging their chests with frightened expressions. Wang Kai became even angrier. You, can you stop being so smug over there? Even if Ben Shao becomes a lecher, he won't choose trash like you. Wang Kai gnashed his teeth and snorted. The female cultivators who were pointed out by Wang Kai all glared at him with cold faces. One of the bolder ones even scolded, "Think about it. I won't serve you." Damn it. Hearing that, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. With a flip of his hand, he grabbed the woman and squeezed her neck. He squinted his eyes and asked with a smile, "What did you say just now?" The woman's delicate body trembled slightly. Her pretty face could be considered a pretty girl from a humble family. However, at this moment, her face was full of anger. Hearing that, she scolded without showing any weakness. "I said that even if you want to, I won't serve you." Good. Since you don't want to serve me, how about you serve the wild lion? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a playful smile. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, before Wang Kai could call out to him, Lu Tian tactfully pulled Wild Lion King Jin Yi to the side. "Halt, Master Genie. As a reward for you, you can play with her as you wish." Lu Tian put his hands on his waist and laughed with a wink. "You can't do this." The woman was finally scared out of her wits. Her delicate body trembled nonstop. Her eyes were filled with fear as she looked at the 7 to 8 meter tall Wild Lion King. In particular, the woman's eyes couldn't help but look at the lower body of the Wild Lion King. Although she didn't see anything, she was still scared out of her wits. It was as if she had thought of something terrible. Asterisk, walala. Asterisk under everyone's incredulous gazes. Water flowed out from the woman's legs. Wah! Sec Master Wang, let this servant serve you. I really don't want to asterisk patter. Asterisk seeing that, Wang Kai snorted in disdain. He flipped his hand and threw her into the desert. He raised his hand and fanned the wind as he said, "What kind of quality, what kind of character is this? She actually peed in front of everyone. Sec Master, Elder Lu, this subordinate really doesn't want to have anything to do with her. She's really too ugly. Her body is too weak." Lion King Jean, he shook his head and said in a cold and hoarse voice. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk hearing that, Wang Kai's mouth twitched. Looking at the woman who had peed in fear, he waved his hand and said, "It's just a joke. Don't take it seriously." Sec Master, they are scared away. Ha ha ha. Lu Tian suddenly laughed out loud. Hearing that, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He looked at the other experts of the sect of Heaven Do who were leaving with gloomy faces. Wang Kai sneered and said, F***CKU. How dare you call me a pervert in front of me? Now you want to leave? It's too late. Lu Tian, capture them all. Asterisk whoosh. Howl howl. Asterisk howl howl. Asterisk then, Lu Tian reached out his hand and pulled. The wild lions, which were bound by chains, shook their bodies and jumped around the experts of the sect of Heaven Do and the others, trapping all of them. You, Sect Master Wang, this is the Taoist God's relic. We have chosen to let you have it. I hope you won't kill us all. The Sect Master of Heaven Do frowned and said coldly. He had wanted to threaten Wang Kai since he couldn't defeat him. However, he didn't expect that Wang Kai wouldn't even take the East Royal Court seriously. Now he had to leave first. What was more, given Wang Kai's current situation, as long as he told eldest Princess Dongfang Xian about his whereabouts, someone would come to kill him. Let you have it. Are you joking with this sect master? This oasis was originally this sect master's backyard. As early as 10,000 years ago, this sect master had already taken it for his own use. Today, I just happened to come back to rest and enjoy the scenery. What does it have to do with you? Wang Kai snorted disdainfully. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. You bang. Suddenly, Lu Tian dragged the Wild Lion King to the front of the sect master of Heaven Do and kicked him. The sect master of Heaven Do tumbled over. What are you talking about? Do you still have a right to negotiate with me? If you want to negotiate, you should talk to me first. Lu Tian's face was full of arrogance as he sneered. As he spoke, he hid behind the Lion King. You have gone too far. The sect master of Heaven Do was furious. Blue veins stood out on his forehead. He got up from the ground and stared at Lu Tian with his gloomy eyes. He wanted to skin Lu Tian alive. As the sect master of Heaven Do Prefecture and the leader of a 7th-rank force, he had never been treated like this before. Not only had he been humiliated and expelled by Wang Kai, but now his subordinates had what he didn't know was that Lu Tian was in a good mood. He suddenly felt that following Wang Kai wasn't a bad thing. At least, he could bully people like the sect master of Heaven Do at will. What do you mean by going too far? In order to obtain the inheritance within the Taoist God's relic, you did not hesitate to pretend to recruit soldiers and let the commoners and the weak enter the relic to die. Is such an evil act of righteousness? Since you say that this religion master is going too far, then this religion master will make this a reality. Wang Kai said with a cold smile. With that, Wang Kai jumped up and came to the sect master of Heaven Do. He reached out his hand and grabbed the sect master. Then, he threw the sect master into the entrance of the relic. No. Oh no. The sect master of Heaven Do's horrifying voice made the sect masters pale in fright. Some of them even fell to the ground in despair. Lu Tian, Jin Yi watched them. Let them enter the relic one by one and find the way for me. Wang Kai said indifferently with his hands behind his back. Chapter 409. After that, under the coercion of Lu Tian and Gold One, all the experts of the Heaven Do Manor stepped into the tiger's mouth. Moreover, every single one of them very consciously picked up the silver chain and entered. Wang Kai was rather curious about this, and he couldn't help but narrow his eyes and ask with a smile, "What's that chain? Could it be that it's used to remember the route?" Lu Tian and Gold One shook their heads when they heard this. They naturally didn't understand all of this. However, General Sun sensibly took the initiative to explain. Sect Master Wang is right. Everyone who enters the ruins will grab this chain. Moreover, the chain can be divided into countless strands. Everyone has one, and they'll walk in different directions. If they're alive, then they'll pull the chain from time to time to let the outside world know. If they're dead, then the chain naturally won't move. Everyone has a chain in different directions. Could it be that there are many paths beneath the tiger's mouth? Wang Kai's brows raised, and his expression grew even more curious. He'd only been to Dragon Mountain in the Immortal Martial region, and it wasn't difficult at that time. However, it couldn't be compared to here. As the name implied, the Tao God Ruins was the peak of the Tao God realm. The Tao Profound realm, Tao Lord realm, Tao King realm, Tao Emperor Realm, Tao Saint Realm, and Tao God Realm. With Wang Kai's current cultivation in the martial Tao and his level 10 bloodline, he could only deal with Tao Lord Realm experts. As for Tao King Realm experts, he would definitely not be a match for them if he relied solely on the martial Tao. Not to mention the ruins of the Tao God Realm. The dangers within were obvious. Sect Master, are we going to enter the ruins as well? General Sun asked in a probing manner while a strand of urgency flashed swiftly through his eyes. If Wang Kai was able to enter the ruins, then he would definitely be able to leave Wang Kai. Even if he had to enter the ruins with Wang Kai, he could separate from Wang Kai under the choice of the countless paths. Wang Kai glanced indifferently at him when he heard this, and then he couldn't help but shake his head and chuckle. He naturally knew what General Sun was thinking, so he immediately shrugged and smiled indifferently. Lu Tian, Gold 1, let's enter the ruins. General Sun will stay here and watch the entrance. Yes, Sect Master. Lu Tian and Gold 1 hurriedly replied. Such a scene immediately caused a hidden joy to appear in General Sun's eyes. If there was no need to enter the ruins, wouldn't that be wonderful? After Wang Kai entered the ruins, he would be able to leave safely. However, before they could taste the sweetness of this beautiful dream, they heard Lu Tian pull on the chains and grin as he said, "All of you stay here and watch over General Sunday, remember. Don't let him escape." Ayo ayo, roar. Over 10,000 ferocious lions roared in response. They formed into groups of 3 to 5 and surrounded General Sunday. With his cultivation at the Divine Spirit Realm, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens for him to escape. Sigh, I might as well enter the ruins and take a risk. Perhaps I might even be able to obtain some opportunities. General Sun shook his head bitterly and sighed with a smile. Then, Wang Kai led Lu Tian, Jin Yi, and the Yellow Wind Bandits of Yellow Sand's stronghold into the Tao God Relic. Following the web between the thumb and the index finger, when it reached the bottom, it was already close to 10,000 meters underground. What came into view was a huge stone wall. On the stone wall, there were countless holes, each the size of a person. On each hole, there was a silver chain hanging. Among them, more than half of the chains were no longer moving. This also proved that those who walked through these paths would definitely die in the holes. For the remaining thousands of holes, the chains were still moving from time to time. However, there were also chains that gradually fell into silence. When the Yellow Wind Bandits and the others saw this, their faces were filled with shock. Their gazes quickly swept across the various holes. In the end, they could not decide which path was the path to survival. It is said that there is only a slim chance of survival. In this place, there are nearly 10,000 choices. How many paths to survival are there? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled faintly. Hearing this, Lu Tian rubbed his hands together. His eyes shone as he scanned the holes. He grinned and laughed softly. Sect Master, which path should I take? You must have made your choice, right? In Lu Tian's opinion, since Wang Kai dared to enter the relic, he must be confident. At the very least, he must have some tricks up his sleeve. Although they had only known each other for a short time, Lu Tian could see that Wang Kai's character was definitely the kind of person who did not want to be taken advantage of. If he was not confident, how could he come down? Little did he know that Wang Kai did not have any confidence at all. He dared to come down because he felt that it was very exciting. Moreover, even if he died, he could use the bloodline to revive. In this case, what was there to be afraid of? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly. He turned around and looked at him with a rather playful expression. He raised his hand and casually pointed at a hole. He said with a playful smile, "You take this path. It must be the path to survival." Really? Lu Tian's eyes suddenly flashed brightly. He looked at the hole he was pointing at. Just as he was about to tentatively walk over, he suddenly realized that the chain hanging there had fallen silent. It was moving from time to time, but now it was dead silent. This proved that the person in this hole was already dead. Swoosh! Lu Tian's face immediately turned pale. He was so frightened that he almost fell to the ground. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and complained, "Sect leader, I am the first-generation Grand Elder of Discord Sect. You can't play with me like this." This scene caused the mouths of the many yellow wind bandits to twitch violently. They exchanged glances with each other and finally clenched their teeth. They secretly hoped that the dead end chains would completely disappear and reveal a path that could lead to a life. Wang Kai also had the same intention. He waited here like this until more than 2 hours later. He suddenly realized that the chains had all fallen silent. Not a single one of the chains hanging in the nearly 10,000 tunnels moved. This is all a dead end. Many yellow wind bandits swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Their faces were pale, and they were dumbfounded on the spot. "Sec leader, cough cough, why don't we leave first?" Lu Tian said with a stiff smile. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard this. He had just released his spirit to investigate, but until now, he had yet to discover the end of the tunnel, nor had he discovered a single person. Even a corpse was nowhere to be found. This also proved that the tunnels did not allow the spirit to spy on them. Could it be that the person in the path to survival intentionally did not pull the chain? Wang Kai shrugged. He felt more and more excited. He immediately walked toward the hole in front of him with his hands behind his back. Lu Tian and the others tensed up when they saw this. Was Wang Kai really going to choose to enter? Wasn't that seeking his own death? Patter. When Wang Kai came to the hole, he did not ask Lu Tian and Gold One to follow him in. He also did not threaten the yellow wind bandits. Instead, he said indifferently, "Opportunity and danger coexist. If you don't fight, you are destined to be under others. I will not force anyone. Whether you live or die, it is up to fate. Sec leader, wait for me." Lu Tian and Gold One's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Gritting their teeth, they followed Wang Kai and stepped into the same tunnel. Seeing this, the yellow wind bandits were also conflicted. Did they really have to leave the relic of the Taoist god and give it up? If so, they would definitely attract the attention of the dominator of the Heaven Reverse region or even more powerful warriors. By then, they would not have the chance to enter. They might even be forced to explore the way by the powerful warriors who heard the news and came over. But if they entered, their lives would be unpredictable. Let's do it. If we leave the relic of the Taoist god, we don't even know if we can enter again. The Yellow Sand Bandit Master clenched his teeth. His eyes were bloodshot as he followed Wang Kai into the tunnel. Many yellow wind bandits could not resist the temptation of greed. They followed him into the tunnel one after another. Chapter 410. Within the passageway, it was pitch black. Even Wang Kai, who was at the Tao Profound realm, was unable to see anything clearly. Even his soul was unable to pry into it anymore. It was completely different from when he was outside. Before entering the passageway, he was still able to pry into the scene within the passageway by using his soul. But at this moment, after entering the passageway, he was unable to see anything clearly. Another formation? Eyes of truth. Wham! Whoosh! Whoosh! Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. 2 rays of silver light flickered and penetrated out from his eyes as he scanned the surroundings within the passageway. The scene he saw caused his heart to violently jump. Within the passageway, there were countless corpses lying on the ground. There were shattered bones and corpses with traces of blood that had yet to dry. To Wang Kai, he had seen too many dead people. Although this passageway was filled with corpses and bones, it was still far from being able to shock Wang Kai. What truly caused Wang Kai to be astonished was the way those corpses died and their injuries. Almost all of them died in an extremely strange way. Some were lying on the ground with bloodstains on their buttocks. There was even a bloody hole that directly penetrated from their buttocks to their stomachs. There were even those whose eyes were pierced through the back of their heads, the 2 points on their chests, the lower body, and even the soles of their feet, mouths, ears, and other parts of their bodies died. Such a tricky way to die. What kind of person is the owner of this Tao God's ruins? Wang Kai's expression was extremely strange, especially those cultivators whose buttocks were pierced to death. It caused Wang Kai to be extremely speechless. My ass. No. What is this? Who is... Ah, my eyes. No, don't. In an instant, the miserable cries of numerous yellow wind bandits sounded out behind him, reverberating within the passageway without ceasing. No matter if it was a man or a woman, they all emitted horrifying cries that caused one's hair to stand on end. Wang Kai frowned as he turned around to look, only to see that most of the yellow wind bandits had already become corpses lying on the ground. The way they died was no different from those corpses. Even if it was a woman, there were some whose chests were blasted apart. Whoosh, whoosh. Ugh, fuck your uncle, who's poking your Uncle Lou's butt. It hurts so much. Sec leader, save me. Lu Tian covered his buttocks, which were covered in blood, as he screamed and ran crazily towards the front. He couldn't see anything at all and could only blindly run forward. The other surviving yellow-in bandits did the same. Behind them, there were dozens or even hundreds of palms chasing after them. Some of the palms had 2 fingers, some were in the shape of a claw, and some had only 1 finger. Wang Kai's face darkened as he recalled how the skeletons had died. Wasn't this the sign of a female Xiujia's chest being ripped apart, or a male Xiujia's but being poked or blinded? Judging from his aura, he shouldn't be strong. The aura of each palm was different. Could it be that it is judged based on the cultivation of the attack cultivator? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. When Lu Tian arrived in front of him, he suddenly waved his hand and hit him back. Following that was a terrifying, oppressive might. Instantly, those palms dissipated into nothingness. Swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, 2 palms joined together and attacked Wang Kai from behind. Furthermore, his aura was shockingly the same as Wang Kai's. He was also at the Dao Profound realm. Wang Kai's face instantly darkened like ink. He suddenly turned around and slapped his palm down fiercely, colliding with that palm. Bang! Crack! Following that palm dissipating, Wang Kai's face was still livid to the extreme. Such a tricky attacking method. If he was really hit, even if he didn't die, he would be disgusted for several hundred years, right? Looking at Lu Tian lying on the ground with his buttocks sticking out, his hands even tightly covering his, but that was full of blood, such an appearance immediately caused the corners of Wang Kai's mouth to twitch fiercely, simulating the realm and cultivation of the Xiujia who entered this passageway, and then attacking with the same cultivation. Since that's the case, why do you still need to make an array formation to block the Xiujia's vision? Suppressing one's realm to the same level as the Xiujia who entered. What's the use? Isn't it still beneficial to the master of the ruins? Wang Kai's expression was rather disdainful as he snorted coldly. As far as Wang Kai was concerned, the methods that the master of the ruins used to kill people were extremely tricky and disgusting. Even his character was extremely bad. Swoosh! Wang Kai flipped his hand and gestured, capturing Lu Tian and Jin Yi behind him. After that, he tapped his feet and dashed towards the end of the passageway like the wind. All along the way, he encountered endless attacks. But fortunately, the might of every palm that attacked was at the Dao Profound realm, and it always maintained the same level as Wang Kai. However, Wang Kai possessed a level 10 bloodline, and the array formation within the passageway was unable to be simulated. So long as the might of the Dao King realm didn't emerge, it was naturally unable to cause any threat. After dashing for an entire 2 hours, he passed through the passageway and arrived at a place under a clear sky. A tall city without a city gate was reflected into his eyes. Thump! Thump! Wang Kai flipped his hand and threw Lu Tian and Jin Yi onto the ground. Raising his head to look at the clear sky, the scorching sun, the azure sky, and the floating white clouds, he couldn't help but smile in surprise. It's really interesting. Damn it, it hurts Uncle Lu to death. Who exactly is it? Who is so despicable? Lu Tian wanted to cry, but had no tears as he laid on the ground. His hands were tightly covering his buttocks as fresh blood dripped down. It could be seen how miserable he was right now. On the other hand, Jin Yi was fine. They were at the same level, but their physical bodies were different. Those attacks weren't able to cause any harm to him. However, there was still pain. Sectmaster, are we really going to continue? Genie's expression was rather ugly. As the Lion King of the Pride, he was actually attacked inexplicably here. Moreover, the places that were attacked were tricky. It was truly unbearable for the Lion King Genie. Naturally, I'm afraid it's difficult to turn back now. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather indifferent expression. He couldn't help but turn around to look at the holes in the void. There was a chain hanging down from one of the holes, but there was no movement in the other places. From this, it could be seen that there was indeed a way out among the nearly 10,000 holes, and there was only one way out. The rest had all died in the passageway. I wonder who survived. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled curiously. With his hands behind his back, he took a step and flew up the city wall. Seeing this, he could only keep up with a vigilant expression. He had no idea what kind of danger would happen later. Rather, it would be better to say that the attacks in the passageway had now become fearful. Bastard, why aren't you coming over to help this elder follow the sect master? Lu Tian cursed angrily. Until now, the pain in his buttocks was still heart-wrenching. Even moving would cause him to fall to the ground in pain. Chapter 411. On the city wall, Wang Kai stood with his hands behind his back. As he sized up the scene in the city, he couldn't help but frown slightly. In the city, other than a black palace in the center, there were no other buildings. On a plain, there were densely packed skeleton corpse soldiers. There were tall and short skeletons among the corpse soldiers. The only thing they had in common was that they all wore black gloves on their hands. The city was filled with skeleton corpse soldiers, surrounding the palace in the center. They were everywhere from left to right, front to back, and even in all directions. No matter which direction one entered the city, if one wanted to reach the palace, they would have to charge through the skeleton corpse soldiers. And now, there was a young man with his upper body exposed fighting with the skeleton corpse soldiers in the city. Is he the only one who survived? Divine Path Realm? No, judging from his aura, he should have just broken through to the Divine Path Realm. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and sized up the young man. Especially when he sensed that his aura was still rising rapidly, he became more and more curious. It wasn't that there was no such thing as raising one's realm in battle, but it was too rare to see someone raise his realm so quickly like this young man. Moreover, looking at the rising trend of his aura, he could break through to the second stage of the Divine Path Realm at any time. God, those are all. Damn. No way. Their attacks are exactly the same as those in the passageway. Lu Tian laid on Gold One's back and looked at the skeleton corpse soldiers in the city, especially those who were besieging the young man. The moves they used were all tricky and strange, and every move was extremely ruthless. Eyes, mouth, nose, ears, buttocks, lower body, armpits, and other parts such a scene instantly caused Lu Tian's back to hurt more and more. His body suddenly trembled, and his face was pale. He said with a trembling voice, "Sectmaster, can I not go down? Not go down?" Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard that. He couldn't help but glance at his back that was full of blood. He couldn't help but laugh and said, "Up to you." However, the skeleton corpse soldiers below should have the same realm as the intruder. It's not like the passageway, where you can see things clearly. If you can pass through and get the inheritance of the Divine Path Realm. Whoosh! As soon as he said this, Lu Tian's eyes immediately lit up. However, when he thought about the losses he suffered in the passageway and the densely packed skeleton corpse soldiers below, even if they were at the same level, it would probably be difficult for them to survive. If he were to be stabbed again, wouldn't his buttocks be bleeding? Forget it. This kind of inheritance is too despicable. In the future, I want to dominate the Eastern Wasteland and even 8 wastelands. I definitely cannot rely on this kind of inheritance. Lu Tian shook his head violently as he spoke. The intense pain in his buttocks caused his face to contort. Wang Kai shrugged when he saw this. He placed his hands behind his back and floated down from the sky. He said with a playful smile, "It's a pity that you're only an immortal emperor now and you haven't condensed your Tao. If you're able to obtain this Tao God's inheritance, you'll definitely be able to step into the divine Tao. Even if you're able to cultivate to the peak of the Tao God realm, it'll be easy. Whoosh! Lu Tian's eyes shone brightly after his words sounded. However, he was also extremely hesitant. He struggled on the city wall and was unable to make a decision for a long time. If there were not many white-bone corpse soldiers below, it would be fine. However, it was impossible to calculate. Even if they were at the same level, they would definitely not be able to remain unharmed. Elder, I think we shouldn't go down. Gold One's body was also trembling. Although his body was strong, the parts that were attacked still hurt. Moreover, the parts that were attacked were so embarrassing. However, Lu Tian's eyes lit up. He clapped his hands and laughed loudly. Let's go, Gold One. Take me down and use your body to help me block the attacks. Whoosh! The moment these words came out, Gold One's body froze and his face turned green. He shook his head and said, No, 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 Elder Lu, you can't do this. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and carry me down. If you don't agree, I'll seal your body and throw you into the city. At that time, you won't even be able to resist. Think about what will happen. Lu Tian grinned viciously. Buzz! Under Lu Tian's tug, black chains suddenly appeared on Gold One's body. Elder Lu, I'll go. Gold One screamed in grief and indignation. He immediately jumped up and landed in the city. If Lu Tian really did that, wouldn't he be humiliated by the white-bone corpse soldiers at will when he was unable to move? It seems that the formation in the ruins can only simulate the cultivation base of the intruder. As for the physique, it can't simulate it. If I didn't release my aura in the passage earlier, I probably wouldn't have been attacked. Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and smiled indifferently. He walked in the encirclement of the white-bone corpse soldiers as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. Wherever he passed, he was not attacked at all. Due to the system, as long as he didn't release his aura, no matter how strong he was, he couldn't detect it. This was also the reason why the white-bone corpse soldiers didn't attack him at all. On the contrary, Gold One and Lu Tian were chased and beaten by the white-bone corpse soldiers as soon as they came down. Every move was extremely tricky. Gold One howled in pain, and his attacks became fiercer. Crack! Crack! Looking at the white-bone corpse soldiers being smashed into pieces by Gold One's claws, even if Gold One was attacked, his life wouldn't be threatened. As such, Wang Kai was even more certain of his guess just now. The ruins could only simulate the cultivation base of the intruder. The strength of the physique couldn't be simulated. Why weren't you attacked? When Wang Kai leisurely walked past the encirclement of the white-bone corpse soldiers, the young man who had already fought his way to the front of the palace looked at Wang Kai in shock and asked loudly, This sect master is the sect master of the Defying Sky sect. This sect master even dares to defy the heavens. How much can a mere test in the Tao God ruins do to this sect master? Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled with an indifferent expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience. Bragging points, 100 points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching the 7th grade Tao Profound Realm. Defying Sky Sect? Sect Master? He even dares to defy the heavens? The young man's eyes bulged when he heard that. He looked at Wang Kai with an extremely astonished expression, so much so that he was momentarily absent-minded. His backside was immediately ruthlessly poked by the white-bone corpse soldier. Hiss. The young man's face suddenly twisted. He turned around and smashed his fist down in extreme anger. He directly smashed the white-bone corpse soldier into powder and dissipated. Not even a residue was left. He was several times more terrifying than Gold One. His realm had clearly just stepped into the supreme Tao realm, but the strength of his physique was even more powerful than Gold One. What's your name? Where are you from? Looking at your physique, you shouldn't be weak, right? Do you want to join the sect master's Defying Sky sect? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a smile. This young man's physique was definitely extremely strong. It was definitely above the sacred physique. Mortal physique, spiritual physique, sacred physique, and above that was the divine physique. Even if I tell you, you won't believe it. My name is Yang Wei, sovereign physique, pure Yang overlord physique. Laugh at me as much as you want. Yang Wei sneered with a face full of disdain. As soon as his voice fell, he swayed his bulging muscles and his extremely mighty body. He fought with the white-bone corpse soldiers openly. Everywhere he passed, the ground was filled with white bone powder as he headed straight for the palace. Chapter 412. Since he had already said so much, how was he going to quit the sect? Yang Wei's face was extremely ugly. His eyes were filled with helplessness and self-mockery. He secretly mocked himself for having encountered too many unlucky things. But soon, Yang Wei regained his composure and stood up. His face was full of vigor and his fighting spirit was burning. In his opinion, even if he had made a mistake by joining the Sky Discord sect, he would at most return to the state of working hard on his own cultivation. Moreover, he had a sovereign body and would one day become a powerhouse. At that time, all his encounters and misfortune would vanish like smoke in thin air. Wang Kai naturally saw this scene and understood Yang Wei's mood. He had to admit that this person was worthy of admiration. With such fighting spirit, how could he not be strong? Haha, Yang Wei, you will understand that joining the Sky Discord sect may be the best decision you have made in your life. You must want to ask why, right? The answer is actually very simple. I am very awesome. I am so awesome that no one can stop me. I am so awesome that even the heavens can't cover my imposing figure. Wang Kai said with a proud smile with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Yang Wei was stunned when he heard this. He thought to himself, I didn't ask why. What's more, he was clearly bragging, okay? But in the end, he could only sigh in his heart and accept his fate. Although Yang Wei was born in a mountain village, his temperament had always been upright, especially when it came to promises. Once he had made a decision, he would not go back on it. Even if the road ahead was dark, he would still grit his teeth and charge forward. Wang Kai had previously accepted him as the church master of the Sky Discord sect because he valued his sovereign body. Now, there was another layer of appreciation. At least you are much better than that guy. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. He was speechless as he looked at Gold One, who was shouting and running over, and Lu Tian, who was on his back. Haha, sect master, my martial prowess just now? Who is this kid? Lu Tian was halfway through his words when his eyes suddenly narrowed, and he looked at Yang Wei with a slightly unfriendly expression. Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this. He gently nodded and smiled. His name is Yang Wei, the hall master of the heaven-defying sect's mighty hall. Impotence? Ha ha ha. What a good name. What a great name. Lu Tian was stunned for a moment before he burst into laughter. He kept slapping Gold One's head with his palm. At this moment, Gold One couldn't help but laugh. Although he was a demonic beast, his intelligence wasn't any lower than a human's. Moreover, he was also a male, so he naturally understood what Lu Tian meant. His name is Lu Tian, the Grand Elder of the Heaven-Defying Sect. This is Jin Yi, the Hall Master of the Golden Lion Hall. With his hands behind his back, Wang Kai introduced them one by one with a smile. He had to admit that Yang Wei's name was a little strange. On the other hand, Yang Wei didn't have any dissatisfaction as if he was used to such names. He cupped his fist and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, I'm Yang Wei. I'm not impotent. Greetings to Elder Lu and Hall Master Jin. It's all the same meaning, the same meaning. Lu Tian Yang. Impotence Lu Tian. Cough cough. The two of you must get along well. When you have time, you can also learn from each other. Otherwise, how can you live up to such coincidental names? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a playful smile. When Lu Tian and Yang Wei heard this, they looked at each other and shook their heads speechlessly, especially Yang Wei. At first, he didn't realize that Wang Kai was such a person. If he had known earlier, however, it was too late to say anything. Wang Kai. Suddenly, a delicate voice filled with coldness rang out, accompanied by an extremely terrifying aura. Such a powerful oppressive force immediately caused Wang Kai to be startled, and he hurriedly turned his head to look. Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and Genie's faces also changed as they looked over with slightly pale faces. There was a graceful figure standing on the city wall with a sword in hand. She had an exquisite and enchanting figure and wore a purple long dress. Her face was covered with a veil, and her face could not be seen. However, her purple eyes that were exposed were extremely enchanting. What caught Wang Kai's attention was the flames burning around the girl. It was a blue flame. In his memories, there was only one type of blue flame. It was the fourth-ranked flame, the mysterious sky-heavy flame. It was the heaviest flame. Just a bit of its flame could destroy a mountain. "Who are you?" Wang Kai frowned and pretended not to know her. She was naturally present in the memories of the true spirit clone. This girl was the eldest princess of the Eastern Imperial Court, Dongfang Xian. However, even if he knew her, he couldn't say that he knew her. Even though the dustless flame could suppress the mysterious sky-heavy flame, Dongfang Xian's mysterious sky-heavy flame was different. In the Eastern Imperial Court, the bloodline of the direct descendants all possessed the bloodline power of the mysterious sky-heavy flame. Just as the old man had said, only the unique flame that had turned into a bloodline was the strongest. The true spirit clone had relied on the dustless flame to suppress the unique flame to provoke Dongfang Xian. In the end, he had been chased by the entire Eastern Wasteland. With the true spirit clone as an example, how could Wang Kai admit that he knew her? Dongfang Xian's eyes flickered as she coldly stared at Wang Kai. Her killing intent was revealed as she reprimanded. "Wang Kai, you don't need to quibble. General Sun has already told me about you." Whoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, Wang Kai's expression suddenly turned cold, and a strand of cold light flashed in his eyes. If he knew this would happen, then he would have killed General Sun. "Let's go," Wang Kai said in a low voice with an unsightly expression. He immediately turned around and pushed open the door of the palace. His figure flashed as he entered. Could she be Dongfang Xian? Lu Tian was stunned for a moment before he reacted. He was so frightened that his face turned pale. He patted Gold One's head and said loudly, "Why aren't you following the sect master? Are you waiting for death?" Although Lu Tian had no enmity with Dongfang Xian, he was still the Grand Elder of the Sky Discord sect. If he fell into her hands, his life and death would be unpredictable. As Gold One rushed into the palace with Lu Tian on his back, Yang Wei followed closely behind with a pale face. Naturally, he had the same thought as Lu Tian. He was afraid that he would be affected by Dongfang Xian's anger. After all, as the Eastern Imperial Court's princess, Dongfang Xian's temper had always been bad. No one could guarantee that she wouldn't be affected. "Sigh, I just got on the pirate ship and now I'm being chased." Yang Wei was speechless as he sighed. His heart was filled with unspeakable sorrow and helplessness. "Pervert, do you think you can escape?" Dongfang Xian's beautiful eyes flashed coldly as she looked at the palace door that was gradually closing. She waved her long sword and slashed it down. Whoosh! Bang! Crack! In an instant, a blue sword light pierced through and slashed at the door. The simple and heavy door did not even have the ability to block the attack. It instantly shattered into pieces and exploded. Chapter 413. As expected of Dongfang Little Girl at the Tao God Realm. Within the palace, Wang Kai's face instantly sank when he saw the door explode into pieces. Since the beginning, he'd understood that he was absolutely not a match for her. Yet he'd never imagined that she would actually be so formidable. These ruins were called the ruins of the Tao God, and this proved that the master of the ruins was at the same level as Dongfang Xian. However, now, even the ruins of the Tao God was unable to stop her. Wang Kai was completely thinking about how to leave the ruins right now. Otherwise, wouldn't he die here? Even if his bloodline could be reborn, Wang Kai was still unwilling to taste death. The main reason was that it was too embarrassing. "Sect Master, what should we do?" Lu Tian's face was ghastly pale. It would be a lie if he said that he wasn't afraid. However, he could be considered to have completely seen through Wang Kai. Earlier, he spoke so much about how formidable he was, but he was completely bragging. Yang Wei's expression was unsightly to the extreme. It could be said that he shouldn't have followed them in just now. In that way, Dongfang Zian wouldn't have thought that he was on Wang Kai's side. However, it was too late to say anything now. There's no need to worry. She's just a mere Dao god. Killing her would only be a matter of moving my fingers. Wang Kai placed his hands behind his back and feigned indifference as he spoke with a smile on his face. Yet his gaze swept the surroundings of the palace as he searched for an exit to leave. Congratulations to host for bragging successfully. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to host for breaking through and attaining the first-ranked Downlord realm. He's actually still bragging at such a state. Lu Tian and Yang Wei were speechless to the extreme. Even Lion King Jin he sat on the ground in despair. If one still didn't understand Wang Kai's character now, then one would truly be an idiot. The palace was extremely spacious. Besides the pillars, there was only a translucent table of ice at the end of the hall and a chair of ice behind the table. Wang Kai's face instantly darkened when he saw that there was nothing on the ice table. However, if one looked carefully, one would discover that there was a dark bead on the chair. It was only half the size of a palm. Which one of you wants the inheritance here? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a playful expression. Although Lu Tian was only an immortal emperor and had yet to condense his Tao, cultivating this inheritance would be extremely beneficial. However, Yang Wei and Jin Yi were also members of the heaven-defying sect. Even if they were subordinates, Wang Kai still had to treat them equally. I don't want to. I just want to know how to get out of here. Yang Wei shook his head as he spoke. As an exalt-grade physique, he'd already attained the divine Tao realm, and the Tao he cultivated had already been condensed, so he naturally wouldn't rashly choose the Tao of another to cultivate. What's more, the tests in the ruins were all tricky and strange. They were completely incompatible with the pure Yang overlord body. Jin Yi also raised his paw and said with a hoarse voice, I don't want it either. I can't cultivate a human's inheritance. Since the two of you don't want it, then this elder will reluctantly accept it. In the future, don't say that this elder didn't give way to the two of you. Lu Tian coughed twice and looked at Wang Kai. When Yang Wei and Jin Yi heard this, they were filled with disdain. They secretly thought that even if that inheritance was delivered to their doorstep, they still wouldn't want it. Thinking about the tricky attacks in the ruins, it was obvious that the owner of the ruins wasn't a good person. His inheritance wouldn't be any better. Wang Kai, why don't you continue to run? Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure in purple slowly walked in from the entrance of the palace. Dongfang Zian's ice-cold eyes were firmly staring at Wang Kai from start to finish. Her intense killing intent was extremely frightening. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yang Wei and Jin Yi's expressions tightened as they stood up and looked at her with caution. Even if they knew that they weren't her match, they couldn't just sit and wait for death. Dongfang Zian, do you have a special fetish? You actually want this sect master to continue running? Are you going to chase me from behind? If you really like this sect master, you don't have to do this. As long as you nod your head, this sect master will lower himself and spend a night with you. Wang Kai's eyes slightly narrowed as he sneered with a somewhat mocking tone. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. When Lu Tian and the others heard this, their faces instantly stiffened as they looked at Wang Kai in astonishment. It was hard to imagine that he could still brag when he was blocked at the door by a Tao god. Was he really not afraid of death? Whoosh! When they looked at Dongfang Zian again, she was already so angry that her delicate body was slightly trembling. A cold glint appeared in her beautiful eyes as she immediately shouted and swung her long sword down. Pervert die! Whoosh! As a sword light mixed with blue flames slashed down, Wang Kai's pupils suddenly shrank. With a flip of his hand, he removed the heaven-reaching tower hanging from his ear. Stinking woman, do you think this sect master is afraid of you? Whoosh! Clank! In an instant, the blue sword light slashed the heaven-reaching tower, causing sparks to explode. With the sound of metal clashing, the heaven-reaching tower was forcefully pushed back. Bang! Wah! The heaven-reaching tower flew back, knocking Wang Kai and sending him flying. He fiercely crashed into a pillar and spat out a mouthful of blood. Heaven-reaching tower? You actually have the heaven-reaching tower. Who exactly are you? Dongfang Xian's beautiful eyes were filled with shock. She was about to swing her long sword to attack when she suddenly stopped. Cough, cough. Wang Kai stood up with a pale countenance, and his figure swayed a few times before he stabilized himself by leaning on a pillar. After that, he flipped his hand and summoned the heaven-reaching tower into his palm. He laughed coldly when he heard this. Looks like you know quite a lot, huh? Even if it's your imperial father, the Eastern Emperor, I can beat him up at will if he dares to be disrespectful to this sect master. Do you believe me? Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through and attaining the second rank of the Downlord realm. Whoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, Dongfang Xian's eyes instantly flickered while her thin lips that were hidden beneath the veil were bitten to the point a mark appeared. She stared fixedly at the heaven-reaching tower and rebuked coldly. I don't believe you. Slap. As soon as she finished speaking, she saw Wang Kai raise his hand and slap himself. Such a scene instantly caused Dongfang Xian to be extremely surprised. Yang Wei, Lu Tian, and Jin Yi were even stunned on the spot. This sect master will beat your father up right now. What are you going to do about it? Wang Kai shrugged and roared with laughter with a rather carefree expression. Swoosh! At this moment, Dongfang Xian and the others finally understood that this was Wang Kai's objective from the beginning until the end. He slapped himself, yet he said that he'd beaten up Dongfang Xian's imperial father, the Eastern Emperor. Wang Kai, I swear that I'm not human if I don't kill you. Even if you possess the heaven-reaching tower, it'll be difficult for you to survive. Die. Dongfang Xian rebuked in a delicate voice, and her gaze was filled with extreme embarrassment as she swung her sword down once more. Swish! As the blue-colored sword light pierced through, the might it carried was a few times stronger than before. Even if the heaven-reaching tower was able to resist it, it would definitely be difficult for Wang Kai to survive. Little kid from the Eastern Emperor's clan, it isn't a good thing to be too presumptuous. Chapter 414. Whoosh! Bang! As a stream of light streaked across, the sword chi that was slashing towards him was instantly destroyed and dissipated. Under Wang Kai's astonished gaze, he saw the pitch-black pearl floating in front of him. The destruction of Dongfang Xian's sword chi was caused by this pearl. Shameless Tao God. Dongfang Xian's gaze was extremely cold as she reprimanded. Her jade-like hand waved the long sword and pointed it downwards. Shameless Tao God. When these words were spoken, Wang Kai's brows immediately twitched. He never imagined that there would be such a Tao technique in this world. However, when he thought about the crafty attacks in the ruins, he understood. It was reasonable for such a strange attack to be called shameless. Thousands of years have passed, but this Tao god is still remembered by the world. This is a happy matter. However, the Tao that this Tao god cultivates is called life-chasing. This Tao god's Tao name is life-chasing. As a voice filled with pride rang out from the pearl, the corners of everyone's mouths twitched. Life-chasing Tao god? It sounded quite domineering, but such a crafty attack. How could it be worthy of such a Tao name? Shameless Tao god. Back then, you were merely a Tao god. The reason why you were known by so many forces in the Eastern Wasteland was because of the despicable and shameless Tao you cultivated. I never imagined that you would never regret it. It's no wonder that you couldn't break through the Tao God realm and become a sovereign. The despicable and shameless Tao is a small Tao in the end. It's difficult for it to be refined, and it can't become a sovereign Tao. Dongfang Xian's tone was filled with ridicule as she sneered. Whoosh! As her voice rang out, under the strange gazes of Wang Kai and the others, the pitch-black pearl floated to the ice bench. Rays of black light emerged from the pearl and gradually condensed into a black-haired middle-aged man. He had triangular eyes, a mustache, and a mole with black hair on his chin. The hair was as long as a finger and curled upwards. What made people even more speechless was that this person was extremely skinny. She was so skinny that she was all skin and bones. The only thing that was beautiful about her was that her palms were extremely long and slender. Furthermore, her fingernails were even longer and looked like sharp daggers. When they witnessed this scene, Wang Kai and the others didn't have to think to understand that this person really deserved to be called the shameless Tao God. His appearance, slender fingers, and long fingernails were definitely used to do shameless things. Seeing this, Lu Tian and Gold One couldn't help but tighten their buttocks. If they were poked by such a palm, the consequences would be unimaginable. Little kid from the East Clan, even though you possess the heavenly Xian bloodline formed by the heavenly Xian heavy fire, it is better for you to restrain yourself in the remains that I have left behind. Zhui Ming Dao God squinted his triangular eyes and laughed. His voice was extremely ear-piercing. Especially when she was talking, she was twirling the hair of the mole with her fingers. It looked rather disgusting. Humph! Shameless Taoist God, you've already fallen 1,000 years ago. Now, you're relying on the 10,000-year ice to preserve your divine sense until now. You're far from qualified to make me stop. Dongfang Xian sneered mockingly. However, she tightened her grip on the long sword in her lily-white hand. She had chased Wang Kai all the way to the heaven reverse domain. Originally, she could still track Wang Kai's aura, but it had mysteriously disappeared and all her senses had been cut off. She originally wanted the experts of the heaven reverse manor and the various factions in the heaven reverse domain to search for Wang Kai's whereabouts. However, she also heard that they had discovered the remains of a Tao God. As a Tao God, how could she care about a mere Tao God's remains? She had come to this desert oasis to search for the various factions and issue orders. However, she hadn't expected that she would only encounter countless berserk lions outside. There were no experts from other factions. Fortunately, General Sun of the Heaven Reverse Manor had told her everything that had happened. However, as soon as she entered the remains, Dongfang Xian felt some regret. Through the attacks in the passageway, she had naturally discovered which Tao God had left behind the remains. Now that the divine sense of a Tao God had appeared, Dongfang Xian was truly unwilling to fight him unless she had no other choice. Little child of the Dongfang clan, you have also descended as a divine sense. If we fight, even if this Tao God loses in the end, it will be difficult for you to come out unscathed. Tao God Zhui Ming stroked the long hair on his mole. His laughter was rather ear-piercing and extremely gloomy. Just a divine sense? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He narrowed his eyes and glanced at Dongfang Xian. When he saw a trace of fear flash through her eyes, he came to a sudden realization. If she was really poked by a Tao God, no matter how strong or proud a woman was, she would be unable to sleep at night and seek death at all times. Shameless Tao God, don't you dare be so arrogant. This princess's original body is hurrying here. If you dare to disrespect me, then not only will your divine sense be destroyed, but your inheritance will also vanish. Dongfang Xian sneered coldly. Swoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, Tao God Zhui Ming's movements immediately stiffened. His triangular eyes were filled with killing intent as he said in an ear-piercing voice, "Little child of the Dongfang clan, if you are willing to become this Tao God's successor, then everything will be fine. If you don't agree, then this Tao God can make you helpless before your original body arrives." Wishful thinking. Dongfang Xian's eyes were filled with rage when she heard this. As the Princess Royal of the Eastern Imperial Court, How could she cultivate such a crafty and despicable inheritance? Moreover, she was also a Tao god like him, and she was confident that her Tao was superior to his. Since you don't agree, then wait at the side. If you are unwilling, then you can fight this Tao god. Tao god Zhui Ming stroked the long hair on his mole. His triangular eyes were filled with threat. Such a situation caused Dongfang Zian to clench her teeth tightly. Her eyes were filled with killing intent as she stared at Wang Kai, but she just couldn't kill him. Tao god Zhui Ming's attacks were truly too shameless. As the Princess Royal of the Eastern Imperial Court, how could she suffer such humiliation? Tao god Zhui Ming, I hope you don't regret this, Dongfang Zian said coldly. Then she brandished her long sword and retreated a few steps. She blocked the entrance of the hall and stared at Wang Kai. If Dongfang Zian's original body arrived, even Tao god Zhui Ming would find it difficult to resist. Boy, what's your name? Are you willing to accept this Tao god's inheritance? Tao god Zhui Ming squinted his triangular eyes and looked at Lu Tian with admiration. Tao god Zhui Ming naturally took note of all the tests outside, and only Lu Tian was suitable for him. Lu Tian, in the future, you will be the man who dominates the Eastern Wilderness and even the 8 Wilderness. Lu Tian rolled up his sleeves and said loudly with an arrogant expression, "Whoosh." As soon as he said this, Tao god Zhui Ming's eyes filled with admiration. He nodded and laughed sinisterly. Not bad, not bad. You have the qualifications to receive this Tao god's inheritance. However, the heaven-reaching tower is a great treasure in the 8 Wilderness. If you want it, I can help you. I will also help you avoid the little kid from the Dongfang family. You have to know that with the heaven-reaching tower and my inheritance, it will be easy for you to dominate the Eastern Wilderness and even the 8 Wilderness. Lu Tian's expression froze when he heard this. Yang Wei and Gold One's eyes darkened. Wang Kai's expression was indifferent. He didn't look at Lu Tian. Instead, he looked at Tao god Zhui Ming mockingly. He couldn't help but laugh coldly. Aren't you showing off a little too much? You even dare to have ideas about this sect master? Chapter 415. Tao god Zhui Ming glanced at Wang Kai coldly when he heard that. His triangular eyes were filled with determination. He looked at Lu Tian and asked with a sinister smile, "Do you agree? Act tough. Act tough as much as you can." Wang Kai narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw that. He stared at Tao god Zhui Ming mockingly and didn't say anything else. He wanted to see what choice Lu Tian would make. This elder is the first-generation great elder of the Discord sect. As for you, this elder doesn't even want to mock you anymore. You're a piece of trash who died thousands of years ago. Now you want to threaten this elder to harm the sect master? Do you think you're qualified to do so? Lu Tian refuted in disdain. The expression on his face clearly expressed his disdain. Swoosh! Tao god Zhui Ming was stunned for a few seconds when he heard that. He didn't expect Lin Fan to reject him. He gave up such a great opportunity just like that. What was more infuriating was that Lin Fan dared to insult him. Someone who values friendship too much won't be able to obtain my inheritance. Since you're unwilling, then die here with him. When I obtain the heaven-reaching pagoda, I'll be reborn as a weapon spirit. I'll definitely condense the supreme technique. Tao god Zhui Ming sneered. Swoosh! Suddenly, Lu Tian was so scared that his face turned pale. He quickly ran behind Wang Kai and retorted with his hands on his waist. Pretentious prick, you couldn't condense the supreme technique more than 1,000 years ago. Now that you've died, you've become a soul, and you're still pretentious. Clap, clap. Wang Kai clapped his hands when he heard that. He praised proudly. That's right. As an elder of Discord's sect, you should have such spirit. Sect Master, I'm betting my life on you now. Please don't be so smug about it. Also, you have to snatch the inheritance of that shameless Tao god and give it to me as well. Lu Tian sent a voice transmission to Lin Fan. In Lu Tian's opinion, Wang Kai definitely had a method to deal with life chasing Tao God. Otherwise, he wouldn't have directly insulted life chasing Tao God. After all, Dongfang Xian temporarily refrained from attacking Wang Kai because of the threat of Dao God Jue Ming. Even in such a predicament, Wang Kai still dared to insult life, chasing Dao God. Was he not afraid that Dongfang Xian would join hands with life, chasing Dao God? At that time, he would definitely die, right? However, even so, Wang Kai still did it. This made Lu Tian subconsciously think that Wang Kai must have a powerful trump card that he hadn't used yet. What they didn't know was that with Wang Kai's character, even if he really encountered a life and death situation, he would still say whatever he wanted. He would never tolerate those who acted tough. Yang Wei, Gold One, Lu Tian, you guys go into the Tower of Babel first. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a calm smile, whoosh. As soon as his voice fell, Wang Kai directly flipped his hand and sent Lu Tian and the others into the Tower of Babel. Life-chasing Dao God and Dongfang Xian didn't stop such a scene. In their opinion, Wang Kai was already a dead man, and the true owner of the Tower of Babel would definitely be one of the two of them. Little kid from the Dongfang family, you take his life, and I will take the Tower of Babel. What do you think? Life-chasing Dao God said with a sinister smile. Dongfang Xian's eyes were extremely cold when she heard this. She waved her long sword and pointed it at Wang Kai from afar. She said indifferently, his life is mine, and so is the Tower of Babel. You, on the other hand, have cultivated for thousands of years and still can't condense a sovereign technique. I am at the same level as you, but you keep calling him a little kid. Aren't you ashamed? Whoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, life-chasing Dao God's face instantly froze. His hand that was stroking the black mole stopped, and his triangular eyes were filled with intense, killing intent. Haha, take my life. The two of you are discussing it? F***CK, your grandpa. Today, I will show you the power of burning the sky and boiling the sea. Wang Kai's expression was rather ferocious as he laughed coldly and coldly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. The power of burning the sky and boiling the sea? TSK. Life-chasing Dao God immediately sneered when he heard these words. Even Dongfang Xian glanced at Wang Kai with disdain. If he was really so capable, why did he have to hide? How dare you be so arrogant with just two divine consciousnesses here? Superpower, fortune deprivation technique. Buzz. Wang Kai suddenly stretched out his hands, and wisps of white mist floated out from his palms. As they gathered, they formed two huge white mist arms. Both Dongfang Xian and life-chasing Dao God were startled when they saw this. It's the Tao of Fortune. Looking at their shocked expressions, Wang Kai immediately grinned coldly. He waved his arms and pointed at them, saying indifferently, Fortune, appear. Buzz. Buzz. The moment Wang Kai's voice fell, a huge ball of five-colored light appeared above Dongfang Xian's head. At the same time, there was also a ball of five-colored light above life, chasing Dao God's head. However, compared to Dongfang Xian's, it was several times smaller. You're courting death, Dongfang Xian shouted in a delicate voice. Her beautiful eyes were filled with fear as she hurriedly waved her long sword and slashed across the air. Life-chasing Dao God moved his body and clapped his hands together, causing his sharp nails to meet. His body was parallel and extremely fast as he attacked Wang Kai's back. The place where he attacked was the rear court. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai's face instantly became as black as ink. Gnashing his teeth, he shouted in a stern voice, F***CK, your grandpa. Deprive. Buzz. Bang. Bang. Suddenly, the two huge white fog arms grasped the air and grasped the five-colored light above Dongfang Xian and life chasing Dao God's heads. At the same time, the sword light that Dongfang Xian slashed out actually changed direction, and the place it attacked was precisely life chasing Dao God. Life chasing Dao God's attack also changed its direction in a strange manner. It fiercely stabbed the ground and made a hole in the ground. Dongfang Xian, why did you sneak attack me? Life-chasing Dao God screamed with a pale face. He wanted to dodge, but as soon as he moved, he strangely fell to the ground. Life-chasing Dao God was scared out of his wits when he saw the sword light that was gradually enlarging in his eyes. Poof! Ah! The blue sword light struck life, chasing Dao God's divine consciousness with unerring accuracy, instantly turning his body into specks of light and dissipating into nothingness. Whoosh! Patter! With a flip of his hand, Wang Kai grasped the jet-black bead on the icy bench in his hand. Shrugging his shoulders with a rather playful expression, he looked at Dongfang Xian, whose eyes were filled with fear, and said with a playful smile, "Little girl Dongfang, if your true body had come, it would definitely be difficult for this sect master to take away your luck. However, you're just a mere divine will, yet you dare to come here and shout about killing. Don't you know that once your luck is taken away, bad luck will accompany you for the rest of your life? Now, do you want me to let go of your fate, or do you want me to let go of your fate?" Dongfang Xian's eyes were extremely cold when she heard this. She was so angry that she was about to swing her sword and kill him. However, as soon as she moved her arm, she lost her balance and fell to the ground. Her sword was also thrown to the side with clanking sounds. Chapter 416. Wang Kai, you deserve death. Ah! Dongfang Xian had only spoken halfway when she bit down on her tongue, and it instantly hurt to the point mist appeared in her eyes. She lay flat on the ground, and even if she wanted to get up, she would fall down once more. Such a strange scene caused Wang Kai's eyes to narrow slightly. Needless to say, the Tao of karmic luck was extremely formidable indeed. There was no suppression of cultivation at all, and it could seize the karmic luck of any expert. Even if Wang Kai was only at the Tao Lord realm now, he could still seize the karmic luck of a Tao god. However, everything had its pros and cons. Even if he could seize the karmic luck of another, he had to possess an equivalent strength to endure the karmic luck. Otherwise, if the karmic luck was seized and the main body was unable to endure it, then the consequences were bound to be miserable. With my current cultivation in the martial Tao, seizing the karmic luck of two Tao gods at the same time is already my limit. If it was my main body that came here, then my karmic luck would probably be unable to endure it. Wang Kai frowned as he pondered in his heart. A strand of heavy and indescribable pressure coiled around his body, and even moving a single step felt like a mountain was tied to his legs. If he waited for Dongfang Xian's main body to come here, then even if he seized her karmic luck once more, he would be bound to be unable to endure it. At that time, he would probably be crushed to death, right? When he thought up to here, Wang Kai utilized his will to control the two white mist arms that floated in midair and held karmic luck, and he directly crushed the karmic luck that belonged to the Tao God Life Seeker. Wham! Suddenly, the five-colored radiance of karmic luck transformed into specks of light that dispersed into the heavens and the earth. At the same time, the pressure on Wang Kai instantly lightened up slightly, and he strode over with slightly heavy steps to arrive before Dongfang Xian. He looked down coldly at her and said indifferently, "Didn't you say that this sect master is a pervert? Then this sect master will show you how perverted I am." Swoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, Dongfang Xian's eyes were instantly filled with terror, and she berated with extreme embarrassment. You want to... Ah! However, because her karmic luck had been seized, it caused Dongfang Xian to be unable to speak. Once she opened her mouth, she would either bite her tongue or her lips, and even move her body would fall repeatedly. Haha, what are you afraid of? Do you really think I'm interested in you? Even if you stand naked in front of me, I won't even blink my eyes, let alone do anything to you. Wang Kai sneered with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations on breaking through to the third rank of the Tao Lord realm. Hearing this, Dongfang Xian's beautiful eyes went blank for a moment. However, when Wang Kai bent down and stretched out his hand, a cold light instantly appeared. She tenderly reprimanded, "You ugh!" However, in the end, Dongfang Xian still tripped, and her red lips were even bleeding from being bitten by herself. She could only watch as Wang Kai's palm approached. "Wang Kai, if I don't kill you, I'm not human." Bang! As she spoke, Dongfang Xian's body gradually turned transparent. In the end, with an explosion, she collapsed and dissipated. Self-destruction of divine will. Dongfang Xian really is ruthless. Wang Kai's brows instantly raised. Even though he'd enjoyed this shocking scene, what awaited him was even more ferocious revenge. Self-destruction of divine will? That little girl from the East Clan is probably going to fall by a stage. She was originally at the peak of the Tao God realm, and she wasn't far from condensing an exalt technique. Now, she's wasted that opportunity and fell to the 8th rank of the Tao God realm. Kid, I advise you to leave the Heaven Reverse region as soon as possible. Within Sky Split Tower, Cat stroked his beard and spoke with a rather admiring expression. What a pity. How good would it be if she sent a clone? In that way, she wouldn't be able to self-destruct, and I'd be able to enjoy the beautiful scenery. Wang Kai sighed with slight regret. As soon as he finished speaking, he transformed into a ray of flowing light that shot out of the ruins. Swoosh! As Wang Kai emerged from the mouth of the tiger in the oasis, the veins on his forehead bulged as he gazed at the wild lions that were waiting outside and General Sun, who was still surrounded. General Sun, what a grandson. You actually dare to frame me? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. His face was filled with monstrous fury, causing General Sun's face to turn deathly pale. He was so frightened that he fainted on the ground. He never imagined that Wang Kai would actually be able to come out alive. What he regretted even more was that he shouldn't have told on Dongfang Xian. Seeing this, Wang Kai sneered coldly. With a flip of his hand, he stored the wild lions and the unconscious General Sun into the Sky Split Tower. He looked at the void in the distance and immediately stepped into the air without hesitation. In an instant, he was 10,000 miles away. Less than 100 breaths after Wang Kai left, the furious Dongfang Xian appeared in the sky above the oasis. The corner of her mouth, which was covered by a veil, was already soaked with fresh blood. From this, it could be seen how much damage she had suffered from the self-destruction of her divine will. Wang Kai, you must die. Whoosh! As her voice faded, Dongfang Xian floated into the mouth of the tiger. However, when she arrived at the palace, there was no one in sight. Such a situation caused Dongfang Xian to become extremely furious. She brandished her long sword and turned the ruins into ruins. Wang Kai, Wang Kai, Wang Kai, Wang Kai. Dongfang Xian flew out of the ruins and stood in the air. Her crazy voice was filled with anger as she continuously brandished her longsword, causing the oasis to sink deep into the desert. At the same time, several tens of thousands of miles away, Wang Kai was walking in a mountain forest in the Heaven Reverse region. He didn't dare to release any aura, fearing that Dongfang Xian would chase after him. Bang! Wang Kai sat on a large rock and released General Sun with a flip of his hand. With a powerful swing, he immediately smashed General Sun into the mountain wall. Wah! General Sun's face was deathly pale as he clutched his chest. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. Looking at the gloomy face of Wang Kai, he was so frightened that his knees bent and he knelt on the ground. Sect Leader Wang, please spare my life. Sect Leader Wang, bang, 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 bang. Looking at General Sun, who was constantly kowtowing and begging for mercy, Wang Kai's anger didn't diminish in the slightest. Spare your life? When you framed this sect leader, did you think about how you were going to survive? Now that the blade is hanging over your head, you only know how to regret it. Did you think about your grandfather before? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes as the veins on his forehead bulged. If it wasn't for the Tao of Fortune, wouldn't he be doomed? Moreover, the other party was a woman. As a dignified man, if he was really killed by a woman, wouldn't he lose all face in the future? Moreover, Wang Kai had always disliked a despicable person like General Sun who played tricks behind his back. Since that was the case, how could he let him go? Chapter 417. No. Sect Leader Wang, you've misunderstood. I wouldn't dare to frame you. It was Dongfang Zian who forced me. General Sun kowtowed and cupped his fists as he begged for mercy. He looked as if he had really been forced. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. General Sun didn't even know how to lie. How could Dongfang Zian know that he was in the Tao God's relic? Since she didn't know, how could she threaten him? I'm heading to the Central Wilderness. Is there a way to reach there quickly in the Eastern Wilderness? Wang Kai shrugged and asked indifferently. Go to the Central Wilderness? General Sun was stunned, but he quickly understood. With Wang Kai's current situation, it was indeed impossible for him to survive in the Eastern Wilderness. However, even if he went to the Central Wilderness, he wouldn't be able to change his predicament. Could it be that he didn't know that the East Emperor was a prince with a different surname in the heavenly court of the Central Wilderness? Even if he was a prince with a different surname, the power he possessed was definitely not low in the Central Wilderness. If Dongfang Zian found out about it in that place, he would probably die even faster than in the Eastern Wilderness. Thinking of this, General Sun's eyes flashed with disdain. He thought that Wang Kai was a hothead who had just entered the Eight Wilderness. He didn't even know about these things that everyone knew. There's only one formation platform in the Eastern Wilderness that can reach the Central Wilderness. General Sun said respectfully. Only one? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. There is no information about going to the Central Wilderness in the memories of his true spirit clone. However, he was extremely clear about the various forces in the Eastern Wilderness. Are you talking about the Eastern Royal Court or the First Grade Force, the Celestial Master Residence? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked playfully. He actually knew about the two strongest forces in the Eastern Wilderness, yet he didn't know about the formation platform. General Sun was stunned for a moment. He couldn't figure out whether Wang Kai was being rash or asking the obvious. Could it be that he was intentionally giving him a chance to live? Does he want me to please him? General Sun's eyes immediately shone brightly when he thought of that. He immediately said with even more respect, yes and no. The Master of the Celestial Exalt Manor and Sir Dong Wang are both kings of the heavenly court of the Central Wastelands. The only formation that leads from the Eastern Wastelands to the Central Wastelands is managed by both organizations. Apart from the Master of the Celestial Exalt Manor and the Master of the Celestial Exalt Manor, anyone who wants to use it needs the permission of the Master of the Celestial Exalt Manor and the Master of the Eastern Exalt Manor. Eastern Royal Court, Celestial Master Residence, two first-grade forces. They were in charge of the formation that led to the Central Desolate together. If he wanted to use it, he would have to get their approval first. Wasn't that the same as saying nothing? Not to mention the Celestial Master, who he had yet to meet. The Eastern Sovereign would definitely kill him if he saw him due to his relationship with Dongfang Zian. Thinking of this, Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened, and he glared at him fiercely. However, he saw that he was pleasantly surprised and expectant. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and asked curiously, "What are you happy about, and what are you looking forward to?" Swoosh! As soon as he heard this, General Sun's face stiffened. His eyes widened as he looked at Wang Kai in disbelief. He asked tentatively, "Sect Leader Wang, I've answered your question truthfully. Don't you plan to let me go?" Bang! Wah! Suddenly, Wang Kai lifted his leg and kicked General Sun until he spat out blood and flew backward. Once again, he slammed heavily into the mountain wall. His face became even paler, and even his aura became extremely weak. It was as though he would die at any moment. When did I say that I would let you go? Answering this sect master's question will only allow you to live a little longer. You should know that anyone who dares to frame me, even the Eastern Sovereign and the Celestial Master Residence's Mansion Master, will lose their heads. Wang Kai said with a cold smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. You. General Sun instantly felt extreme despair when he heard this. Never had he imagined that Wang Kai didn't intend to let him go at all. From the beginning until the end, it was he who'd taken things for granted. Needless to say, when one encountered a life and death crisis, one's thoughts were usually strange. Don't encounter me in your next life. I'll notify the king of hell about this. Right? I'll let him reincarnate you into a pig so that he won't let down that stupid brain of yours. Wang Kai spoke with a rather disdainful expression on his face. As soon as he finished speaking, he flipped his palm and slapped forward. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and attaining the 4th rank Downlord realm. Bang! Crack! Along with a green palm strike flying over, General Sun's body was instantly blasted apart, and it transformed into a rain of blood that sprayed towards the surroundings. That Dongfang Xian will definitely not leave the Heaven Reverse region for now. If she utilizes her cultivation to soar through the sky, then it would probably be impossible for me to escape with her ability at the Tao God realm. I need a carriage that doesn't require her to utilize her cultivation. Right. Wang Kai pondered for a short, while before his eyes suddenly lit up and his brows eased up. Whem. After that, Wang Kai activated the system store with his will, and he directly selected the list of precious treasures and artifacts. He was immediately overjoyed when he saw the dazzling lineup of precious treasures and artifacts within it. Early on, when he was in Fan Province, he knew that there were countless treasures within the system store. However, he hadn't utilized them at that time, and there was truly no need for him to utilize them. But now, it would probably be impossible for him to travel through the world without utilizing them. He could only blame his true spirit clone for being too good at causing trouble. Whose fire rod am I? Dumbstruck gauntlets? Obedient to the brain pill? Striptease earrings? F*CK. Wang Kai's eyes immediately bulged when he saw the list. In particular, the special abilities of the precious treasures and artifacts left Wang Kai speechless. For example, the whose fire rod am I? As long as one was hit by this rod, one would definitely lose their memories and not even know who they were. The dumbstruck gauntlets were even more evil. With a single punch, one would definitely beat the opponent until they couldn't take care of themselves. What left Wang Kai even more astonished was the striptease earrings. As long as one wore it, they would definitely think about taking off their clothes at all times. Looking at the other precious treasures and artifacts in the system store, they were all extremely strange and bizarre. Moreover, their abilities were also extremely powerful. There were all kinds of them, and they were endless in number. Flying to your sidecard restriction jade plate? Wang Kai's eyes suddenly narrowed. He hurriedly clicked on the details of the restriction jade plate's abilities. With one look, he couldn't help but shake his head and sigh in disappointment. No matter when or where, it can reach any place. However, the prerequisite is that a person's blood essence must be dripped into it. No matter where that person is, it can instantly reach them. No wonder it's called flying to your sidecar restriction jade plate. He originally thought that he could directly go to the central wilderness through the restriction jade butterfly. Now, it seemed that he could only give up on that idea. The ever-changing fan can transform into thousands of weapon forms. It is indestructible. The heavens cannot destroy it, and the earth cannot bury it. It is the hardest item in the universe. Other than being sturdy, it has no other abilities. The ice flying sword requires the host to cultivate the way of ice. It can travel millions of miles in a day. Wherever it passes, it will be covered in frost, just like winter. Chapter 418. Looking at the various treasures and artifacts in the system store, Wang Kai immediately felt a surge of pride. He immediately stood up, waved his arm, and laughed loudly. Who is this sect master afraid of now? Who else is invincible? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. Obtained 100,000 experience. 100 bragging points. Hee hee, If that little girl Dongfang Xian dares to come, I'll give her a stick first. Wang Kai grinned and laughed softly. Obtain the ever-changing fan and icy flying sword. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the ever-changing fan. Consumed 1,000 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the icy flying sword. Consumed 500 bragging points. Host, Wang Kai occupation, martial artist, talisman cultivator, formation cultivator auxiliary occupation, alchemist realm. 4th grade Taoist Lord cultivation technique, beast taming Tao, pill codex, spirit codex divine ability, luck deprivation technique, soul manipulation technique equipment, Tower of Babel, 9 dragon cauldron, god punishing brush, myriad formation seal diagram, ever-changing fan, icy flying sword bloodline, 10th grade bragging points, 5, 230 experience, 130000000. Give me another Who Am I brand fire-burning stick. Wang Kai urged. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the ever-changing fan. Consumed 100 bragging points. Only 100 bragging points? Hearing the notification, Wang Kai's expression suddenly froze. He hurriedly flipped his hand and took out the fire rod. Looking at the 6 feet long black wooden rod in his palm, a string of information appeared in his mind. The ever-changing fan will lose its memory for a month. Can only be used once. Can only be used once. 100 bragging points per use. Only then did Wang Kai come to a realization. No wonder it was so cheap. But in the next moment, he was shocked. He quickly put away the fire stick and took out the 1,000 transformations fan and the icy flying sword. In his left hand, he held a golden fan. He opened it with a click and saw the words, "I'm originally dissolute," written on it. In his right hand, he held an ice longsword that was completely made of ice. Waves of cold air spread out, causing the surrounding mountains and trees to be covered in a layer of frost. Fortunately, these 2 types of magical artifacts are permanent. Wang Kai heaved a sigh of relief. If he had used 1,000 bragging points to purchase a one-time use treasure, wouldn't he have to brag until he vomited blood before he could afford it? However, this also made Wang Kai understand that among the treasures in the system shop, there were permanent ones and one-time ones. Transform this sect master into a supreme body. Yes, I will choose this supreme body physique called the 9-5 Supreme Body. You are barely qualified to be used by this sect master. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a casual smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations on breaking through and attaining the 5th rank Downward Realm. Congratulations to host for successfully cultivating the 9-5 Sovereign Physique, Dao 2,000 bragging points have been consumed. Congratulations to host for successfully advancing the Spirit Physique into the Supreme Body Physique. Unlocking the summoning function. Host, Wang Kai Professions. Martial Artist, Talisman Cultivator, Formation Cultivator Auxiliary Professions. Alchemist Realm. 5th rank Dailor Dao Arts. Beast Controlling Dao, Pill Scripture, Spirit Scripture Divine Abilities. Karmic Luck Deprivation Technique, Soul Control Technique Equipment. Sky Split Tower, 9 Dragon Cauldron, God Execution Brush. Myriad Formation Restriction Diagram. Shape-Shifting Fan, Ice Flying Sword Bloodline. Level 10 Physique, 9-5 Supreme Body Guardian Beasts. None Bragging Points. 3, 230 Experience. 30002000000 inch host. The summoning function requires you to plant a soul imprint on the target in order to successfully summon the target. Moreover, the soul imprint won't be noticed. You just have to approach the target and touch it. Host, a successfully summoned target can only be ordered to assist you in fighting your enemies. Wang Kai's brows instantly raised when he heard this, and then he hurriedly and carefully looked through the requirements for using the summoning function. So, if I want to summon a target, I need to plant my soul imprint on the target. As long as I get close to the target and successfully touch it, I can plant my soul imprint without anyone noticing. Wang Kai stroked his chin and had a strange expression on his face, especially the new message of guardian beasts on the system page. It must be the target that I successfully planted my soul imprint on, right? However, after thinking about it, Wang Kai directly ignored it. What kind of joke was this? How could it be so easy to get close to and touch a powerful target? Why would he need to use a weak target as his guardian beast to fight his enemies? Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain and waved the ice flying sword. He immediately smiled faintly and said, "The way of ice was created by me hundreds of millions of years ago. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the way of ice. Cultivate the sky-sealing ice skill," Wang Kai said in his mind. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the superpower sky-sealing ice skill. 300 bragging points have been consumed. Swoosh! Immediately after, Wang Kai waved his hand and threw the flying ice sword into the air. With a flip of his body, he stepped on the flying ice sword with one hand behind his back and the other holding the golden folding fan. With a click, he opened the fan and said with a faint smile, "Ice Heaven Sealing Technique." Buzz. Swoosh. Suddenly, ice appeared around Wang Kai's body. His long black hair was covered with frost and turned pale white. His eyebrows were also snow white. What surprised Wang Kai even more was that the surrounding void was also covered with frost. It was as if there was an ice road in the air. "Boy, what were you doing just now? Why did you suddenly have so many supreme treasures and weapons? And when did you start cultivating the way of ice?" Kai was dumbstruck by this scene from within Sky Split Tower. At this moment, he couldn't help but ask this question. Wang Kai's mysteries were too unbelievable. The Tao of Heaven's secrets, the Tao of karmic luck, the Tao of beast control, and the Tao of ice. Cultivating 4 Taos at the same time. Such ability was something that only the extraordinary geniuses of the world could accomplish. Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this, and then he lightly fanned himself and smiled in a rather casual manner. Haha, Ben Shao is the Lord of the universe. Oh no, he should be the Lord of creation. All sorts of supreme treasures, weapons, divine abilities, and techniques were created by Ben Shao. It's merely superficial ability that isn't worth mentioning. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and attaining the 6th ranked Downlord realm. Cat's mouth and eyes twitched as he listened, and he forcefully stroked his beard. He couldn't be bothered to ask any more questions. If he wasn't unable to restrain himself, he would truly be unwilling to speak with Wang Kai. Once he spoke with Chen Shi, he would definitely listen to Chen Shi bragging. Right, big stupid cat, set up some cultivation tests within Sky Split Tower. Let Kuang Shi, Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and the others cultivate. If they bring shame to the heavenly sect in the future, then wouldn't they be letting down an exalted figure like me, the sect master? Wang Kai had a rather indifferent expression as he spoke with a smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. After that, Wang Kai flipped his hand and tossed life, chasing Tao God's inheritance pearl into Sky Split Tower. With Cat here, Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and the others would definitely be able to attain the most perfect cultivation. Everything is ready. Eastern Emperor Domain, Eastern Emperor Court, Exalted Celestial Mansion. I'm coming. Heavenly Court of Central Wasteland, Celestial Emperor of Central Wasteland. Wait for me. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly as he chuckled lightly, and then he stepped on the ice flying sword and transformed into a ray of flowing light that shot straight towards the Eastern Emperor Domain. Everywhere he passed, he was covered in frost while the temperature plummeted. A path covered in ice shockingly condensed in midair and stretched out without end. Chapter 419. Eastern Emperor Domain, Imperial City. After traveling for an entire 3 months, Wang Kai had finally arrived at the Imperial City. He stood on his ice sword as he looked down at the people in the city below, and he was rather surprised in his heart. It could be said that no one in the city was inferior to the God rank realm. Even the weakest was at the God rank realm. Even the attendants in the restaurants and tea houses possessed cultivations at the God rank realm. There were even many experts amongst them whose auras even Wang Kai was unable to see through. Such circumstances proved that those experts weren't at the Tao realm. They were at a level above the Tao realm. Could it be that they're all at the Exalt realm? There are actually so many Exalt realm experts in the world. Wang Kai's brows knit together, and he felt that the gap between his cultivation and theirs was simply too great. Within Skysplit Tower, Cat stroked his beard when he heard this, and he laughed with ridicule. There's only a single Exalt in the Eastern Wilderness, and he isn't in the Imperial City. As for those people, they're far from attaining the Exalt realm. They haven't attained the Exalt realm? Wang Kai was stunned when he heard this. In this way, the level above the Tao realm isn't as simple as just the Exalt realm, and there's definitely other realms. Why has it suddenly become so cold? Right? What exactly is going on with such cold temperatures? Could it be that someone's cultivating an ice divine ability? Wait, quickly look up there. Who's that young man? He's definitely not standing on an ordinary precious treasure or magic artifact. This young man definitely cultivates in the Tao of Ice, and he's utilizing an ice divine ability as well. All the experts raised their heads to look at Wang Kai, and all the experts below the Tao King realm were frozen to the point of shivering from the aura of ice. On the other hand, the experts above the Tao King realm weren't really affected. With Wang Kai's current cultivation at the Tao Lord realm and his 10th grade bloodline, it was sufficient for him to shake the Tao King realm, but he was unable to shake the Tao King realm experts. However, his natural talent and natural endowment is still too weak. Based on the might of his Tao of Ice, he's probably at the Tao Emperor realm, and he can barely be considered to be a genius of a 4th grade power. As for a 3rd grade power, he's just an ordinary disciple. A Tao Emperor spoke indifferently. There was another Tao Emperor beside him. He nodded and said, "That's right. I wonder where this young man came from. He dares to display his martial Tao so openly in East Royal City. But why is he fanning himself? Wasn't he cultivating the Tao of Ice? Is he hot?" Behind the 2 Tao Emperors, there was a 13-14-year-old boy. He raised his head and looked at Wang Kai curiously as he asked. In response, the 2 Tao Emperors looked at each other and shook their heads speechlessly. They didn't reply. What else could it be? Wasn't he just acting tough? Humph. In an inn, there were a few young men drinking with each other by the window. When they noticed that Wang Kai's mere ability at the Tao King realm had drawn the attention of so many people, they instantly started laughing coldly with displeasure in their hearts. Shockingly, the cultivations of those young men were at the peak of the Tao Emperor realm. They were even a realm higher than Wang Kai's overall combat strength. Those are the outer court disciples of the exalted Celestial Mansion. Alas, the exalted Celestial Mansion really deserves to be a 1st grade power. Even their outer court disciples have attained the peak of the Tao Emperor realm. We're truly ashamed. The Tao Emperor shook his head and sighed. The other Tao Emperors sighed in their hearts in a rather lonely manner as well. Even though they were at the Tao Emperor realm and were superior to those outer court disciples, their ages couldn't be compared at all. The peak of the Tao Emperor realm was the next realm after the peak of the Tao Emperor realm. Moreover, those outer court disciples were so young, and they were only a little over 20 years old. So, surpassing them was only a matter of time. I possess a myriad of Tao arts, yet only the Tao of Fire and the Tao of Ice can't coexist at the same time. So, I had no choice but to act in this way. I never expected that it would draw the envy, jealousy, and hatred of some nobodies. How sad, how sad. Wang Kai smiled with a rather indifferent expression. He had one hand behind his back while the other fanned himself lightly. His white clothes and white hair fluttered with the wind, and he seemed rather elegant and extraordinary. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience, and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through and attaining the 7th rank Downlord realm. Swoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, those young men instantly frowned coldly at him, and their faces were covered in ridicule as they laughed incessantly. A mere ant at the Tao King realm dares to act so presumptuously before us. Looks like you probably just arrived at Eastern Emperor's City from that barren area, right? Quickly get the fuck down here and kowtow to admit your wrongdoings. Perhaps we'll spare your life. Exactly. Young people should know how to keep a low profile when they cultivate. Those young men ridiculed Chun Shi without end, and it caused all the experts below to watch with interest. As far as they were concerned, those outer court disciples of the exalted celestial mansion were telling the truth. If a mere Tao King hadn't just arrived at Eastern Emperor's City, how could he possibly be so arrogant as to reveal the Tao he cultivated? Could it be that he isn't afraid of courting humiliation? No matter what, the humiliation had already arrived in the current situation. All of you are quite good at acting. You speak as if all of you are very old. You actually dare to act so presumptuously before this sect master? Are all of you prepared to hang your heads on your pants? Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. As he spoke, his figure had gradually drifted into the inn. Crack! As Wang Kai put away the flying sword with a flip of his hand, the icy cold aura still hadn't vanished, and it covered the tables and chairs in the inn with a layer of frost. Senior Brotherly, leave this kid to me. A short young man stood up, and under the nod of the other young men, he walked towards Wang Kai with his bare hands. Kid, my name is Bai Shi, and I'm an outer court disciple of the exalted celestial mansion. As for my cultivation level, I'm at the peak of the Tao King realm. If you kneel on the ground, kowtow, admit your mistake, and break one of your arms, I can spare your life. Bai Shi smiled proudly as he walked toward Wang Kai. He raised his head and looked coldly at him. Wang Kai's face instantly darkened when he saw the short young man in front of him. He didn't say anything and directly slapped him. Slap! Bang! Suddenly, the short young man seemed as if he was struck by lightning, and his body was immediately slapped to the ground. The scarlet palm print on his face caused his eyes to turn red. He never expected that Wang Kai would actually attack him directly. He clearly knew that their cultivation levels weren't on the same level, but he still dared to attack? Was he really not afraid of death? You're too good at showing off. A mere trash at the Tao Emperor realm dares to make a fuss before this sect master? If I don't slap you, then it would be a waste of your lowly status. Wang Kai had a rather disdainful expression as he laughed coldly, and then he flipped his hand and waved it. Divine power, fortune deprivation technique. More than 1,000,000 words. Thank you all for your support and love. QQ Discussion Group 326077524. Welcome to the group. Chapter 420. Buzz. As a huge white mist arm appeared, balls of 5-colored light appeared above the heads of the few young men. Some were big and some were small, but there was not much difference between them. This is the path of Providence. Providence superpower. He has cultivated the path of Providence. No one in the entire Eastern Wilderness has cultivated the path of Providence. Who is he? Is he a genius from the Central Wilderness? What kind of genius is he? If he is from the Central Wilderness, why is his cultivation level so low? Many onlooking experts were extremely surprised. Their eyes were filled with fanaticism as they stared at Wang Kai. It was as though Wang Kai was a beautiful woman. Smack! Bang! The white mist arm stretched out and instantly grasped the luck of the youths, causing them to fall to the ground after losing their luck. Some of them even fell out of the inn's windows. You should release our providence. We are the outer disciples of the Holy Master Mansion. Aren't you afraid that the Holy Master Mansion will punish you? The short young man shouted in fear. Although there were no cultivators in the Eastern Wilderness who had successfully cultivated Providence, they had heard of the path of Providence. If one's Providence could not be recovered, Accidents would happen even if one walked or ate normally. It was highly possible that one would die. Weren't all of you acting tough just now? Why aren't you acting tough now? Are you scared? F***CKU. Why don't you open your eyes when you go out? Am I someone you can provoke? Wong Kai snorted disdainfully. He immediately activated his mind power. Buzz. Smack. In the blink of an eye, the short-use ball of Providence was crushed by the white misty palm. No. Plop. The moment the Providence dissipated, the short young man screamed. His head tilted strangely, and he died on the spot. When the young men saw this, despair filled their eyes, and their faces turned pale. He's dead? Wong Kai raised his eyebrows and looked surprised. He didn't expect that when all the luck was taken away and scattered, it would directly cause the target's death. What made Wong Kai even more speechless was that there was no EXP reward for killing by depriving Providence. However, when he thought about it, it made sense. Stripping one's karmic luck was not directly killing them. Instead, one would die in a strange way. The Tao of Providence is truly heaven-defying. According to rumor, even in the central wilderness, there are extremely few cultivators that possess the karmic Tao. Moreover, all of them are distinguished guests of the central wilderness imperial court. I didn't expect that there would be a cultivator who successfully cultivated the path of Providence in the eastern wilderness. It seems like the eastern royal court and the celestial master residence are going to fight over the celestial master residence. Many cultivators exclaimed in admiration. Although their eyes were burning, they wanted to take Wong Kai away. However, it was impossible to do so in the East Royal City under the noses of the two first-grade forces. No one dared to. When Wong Kai heard the whispers of the crowd, he couldn't help but squint his eyes. He didn't expect the path of Providence to be so popular. How could one possess such a high status in the Central Wilderness Imperial Court? Patter. Wong Kai shrugged. With one hand behind his back, he opened the folding fan with the other hand and gently fanned himself. With a mocking smile on his face, he said, "Do the few of you admit your mistakes?" Swoosh. The outer disciples of the Celestial Master Mansion immediately got up and knelt on the ground. Just as they were about to kowtow and admit their mistakes, they were so unlucky that they fell directly to the ground. Some of them even hit their heads on the ground. All right. Look at how weak all of you are. I don't even want to bother with all of you. Get lost. Wong Kai snorted disdainfully. With a flip of his hand, he returned the balls of karmic luck to them. Swoosh. Swoosh. When the karmic luck returned to them, the few young men looked at each other and wiped the cold sweat off their foreheads. Their faces were filled with horror as they fled. Little friend, may I know your name? Where are you from? Which sector are you from? Do you have a master? Many powerhouses stepped forward and cupped their fists in greeting. Among them, there were many powerhouses above the Tao realm. Even though they had surpassed the Tao realm, they were still respectful to Wong Kai at this moment. It was as though they were looking at a peerless treasure. Wong Kai naturally knew that it was because of the karmic luck Tao. However, he did not understand that the karmic luck Tao could deprive others of their karmic luck. It was true that the karmic luck Tao could help him fight against his enemies, but what use was it to them? My name is Wong Kai. I'm the sect leader of the Discord sect. Wong Kai shrugged and smiled casually. The sect leader of the Discord sect? Wong Kai. When the crowd heard this, they were stunned. Their expressions changed drastically. All of them widened their eyes and looked at Wong Kai in disbelief. You're Wong Kai? That? Ahem. Wong Kai who offended the eldest princess. In that case, he looks very similar to the portrait that the eldest princess ordered. But shouldn't his hair be black? His eyebrows are not white either. When Wong Kai heard this, he frowned. He could not help but think of the time when he was chased by Dongfang Xian. He was furious. If he met her again, he would definitely hang her up and beat her up. This sect master has never changed his name. He is Wong Kai. 2 years ago, I came from the central wilderness and happened to exchange pointers with Dongfang Xian, who knew that she could not afford to lose and insisted on having a duel with me. I was so annoyed that I could only avoid her. However, who would have thought that she, the Grand Chief Princess of the East Royal Kingdom, would call me a perverted thief? Everyone, do you think that I need to be a perverted thief because I have the karmic luck Tao? Wang Kai snorted angrily. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. As soon as this remark came out, it immediately caused many cultivators to frown. What Wang Kai said was indeed correct. Cultivators who had the karmic luck Tao had a noble status in the central wilderness. There was not a single one in the eastern wilderness. Moreover, Wang Kai was young and handsome. If he wanted women, wouldn't there be many who would volunteer to sleep with him? If that's the case, why did you run away, sect leader Wang? That's right. Didn't you say that you defeated the eldest princess in a duel? Also, why did the female disciples from the other regions say that you're a perverted thief? Faced with everyone's doubts, Wang Kai could not help but twitch his mouth. Sometimes it was really difficult to lie. However, since he had already said it, how could it not be perfect? How could he let go of such a great opportunity to clear his name and smear Dongfang Xian's reputation? Thinking about this, Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. Everyone, you don't know. Back then, I was only at the divine ability realm. I relied on the karmic luck Tao to defeat Dongfang Xian, but my injuries were quite severe. I had no choice but to run for my life. Unfortunately, she, the dignified Eastern Imperial Court princess, used some unknown method to make the female disciples of the various forces collude with her to murder me. Swoosh! When these words were spoken, everyone immediately came to a realization. However, at the same time, they looked at Wang Kai with even more suspicion. Even if he cultivated the karmic luck Tao, he could actually defeat Dongfang Xian, who was at the divine ability realm. Looks like sect leader Wang has already cultivated the karmic luck Tao to the point of perfection. An old man above the Tao realm stroked his beard and sighed. At the same time, many experts chimed in one after another. However, in their hearts, there were very few who believed Wang Kai's nonsense. What a joke. At the divine ability realm, even if one cultivated the karmic luck Tao, it was impossible to defeat a Tao God realm expert. Now that he believed in Wang Kai, he was just doing him a favor. Little did they know that whether it was on the surface or sincere trust, Wang Kai did not care. As long as they said that they believed him, it was fine. 1 spread to 10, 10 spread to 100, and when it spread throughout the entire eastern wilderness, how many people would know whether it was true or false? Chapter 421. Of course, the Tao of karmic luck that I cultivate has indeed attained the transformative realm. Even if I face Exalt Yi Huang, I'm still capable of going against him, and it wouldn't be difficult for me to defeat him. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather indifferent expression. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You've obtained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through and attaining the 8th rank of the Tao Lord realm. Everyone, they truly hadn't expected that Wang Kai was actually so good at bragging, and every single word he spoke was so arrogant and frivolous. If it wasn't out of consideration for the Tao of karmic luck that he possessed, they would have probably killed him on the spot. With the exalted celestial mansion and Eastern Imperial Court here, the experts of the various powers naturally didn't dare to exceed their authority to rope in Wang Kai. Now, they were fawning over Wang Kai like this for the sake of getting closer to him. Even if they couldn't take him for themselves, they could get to know him and ask for his help. Ha! Brother Wang is really humorous. I'm the crown prince of the Eastern Imperial Court, Dongfang Mo. I'm fortunate enough to witness the Tao of karmic luck, and it's truly the fortune of 3 lifetimes. Along with this light laughter, a young man in a golden robe walked slowly up to the 2nd floor of the inn. Just like Wang Kai, he held a golden folding fan, had an extraordinarily handsome appearance, and even though his bearings seemed to be warm, his eyes still carried a strand of innate pressure. the crown prince of the Eastern Imperial Court. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly when he saw this, and he sensed his cultivation. He noticed to his surprise that he was at the Dao God realm, just like Dongfang Ziyan. Moreover, he was a direct-line descendant of the Eastern Imperial Court as well. Yet now, he just happened to have taken the initiative to make friends with Wang Kai, and Wang Kai couldn't help but feel amused in his heart. So it's the Crown Prince. Forgive me for not going out to greet you. However, Crown Prince, don't try to show off. You're the dignified Crown Prince of the Eastern Imperial Court, yet you've actually never seen the Tao of Karmic Luck? Could it be that you haven't been to the Central Wastelands? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather playful expression. Swoosh! These words immediately caused the expressions of many cultivators to stiffen. Dongfang Mo's expression was also startled. He did not expect that Wang Kai would actually use such a tone to speak. What infuriated Crown Prince Dongfang Mo even more was that last sentence. If he had been to the Central Wilderness, would he still need to say that he had never seen the Tao of Fate? Furthermore, Wang Kai had claimed that he came from the Central Wasteland and possessed the Great Path of Luck. Thus, no one would doubt his origin. However, it was precisely because of this that his words earlier were ridiculing Dongfang Mo for never having been to the Central Wasteland. In other words, was there any difference between being ignorant and not seeing the world? Little did he know that Wang Kai was unaware of the twists and turns in this matter. He believed that the Crown Prince of the Eastern Imperial Court must have been to the Central Desolate. There's something that Royal Brother doesn't know. Without reaching the Venerable Realm, Royal Father will not allow anyone to set foot in the Central Wasteland. Dongfang Mo explained with a smile on his face. However, his heart was extremely cold. Wang Kai's words were obviously meant to humiliate him. However, he had no choice but to explain himself. Not reaching the Venerable Realm? So, the Venerable Realm was the level above the Tao Realm? Wang Kai's eyes slightly flickered as he thought to himself. This Crown Prince most likely wanted to befriend him for the Tao of Fate. This was a good opportunity to see what they wanted to do with the Tao of Fate. What other uses did the Tao of Fate have? Oh, it's my fault. If I didn't have a grudge with Princess Ziyin, I would definitely be able to become good friends with the Crown Prince. What a pity, what a pity. Wang Kai pretended to be sad as he shook his head and sighed. Such words immediately made Dongfang Mo's eyes brighten. He originally thought that it would be troublesome, but he didn't expect that the other party would also want to befriend him. Looks like the geniuses of the Central Wilderness are only SOSO. Dongfang Mo sneered disdainfully in his heart. He thought that Wang Kai was doing this because he was interested in his status as the Crown Prince of the Eastern Imperial Court. Brother Wang, you must be joking. There must be some misunderstanding between you and Sister Ziyin. Since we are good friends, I naturally have to resolve this misunderstanding for you. Dongfang Mo said with a smile, directly calling Wang Kai a good friend. Wang Kai naturally didn't refuse such intimate words. It was better to say that he had the same intention. Since Brother Dongfang is so righteous, it would seem that I'm narrow-minded if I don't respect you. Why don't we find a place to have a drink? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and said with a playful smile. Dongfang Mo's eyes lit up when he heard this. He immediately moved to the side and gestured with a smile. Brother Wang, please. How can I, Lan Jiuyo, miss out on such a banquet? Swoosh. Suddenly, an extremely heroic laughter rang out, causing Dongfang Mo to furrow his brows tightly. Many cultivators also had a strange expression on their faces. They stood quietly in the distance, as though they were watching a good show. Dongfang Mo's face turned uglier when a burly young man in black leather armor with a rough face entered the second floor of the inn. Lan Jiuyo, I heard that you wanted to go into seclusion to make a breakthrough to the honorable realm. Now that you have appeared here, you must have failed to make a breakthrough again, right? Dongfang Mo said with a cold smile. His previous gentle demeanor had completely disappeared and was replaced by a murderous look. Many cultivators didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. Dongfang Mo was the crown prince of the Eastern Imperial Court and the leader of the younger generation. Lan Juyo was the young mansion master of the Holy Master Mansion and the leader of the younger generation. He was also at the peak of the Tao God realm. The two of them were mortal enemies. It could be said that they had to fight each other when they met. Haha, Dongfang coward, you were right. I have indeed failed to make a breakthrough again. If I count, it should be the 179th time. However, it is still better than some trash who doesn't even dare to make a breakthrough. He is afraid that he will fail and embarrass himself. TSK, TSK. He is just like a coward. Ha ha ha. Lan Juyo laughed out loud. There was no dejection, shame, or anger on his face. Instead, he felt that it was an honorable thing to fail to make a breakthrough. This person's character was very magnanimous. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and laughed secretly. He simply stood aside without saying a word. He wanted to see how far the two of them could go. Lan Juyo, today, I still want to drink with Brother Wang. I will not be calculative with you. Humph. Dongfang Mo's eyes were cold as he snorted. In the blink of an eye, he looked at Wang Kai and extended his hand with a smile. Brother Wang, let's go. Wait, why should we go? Dongfang Mo, I am not here to fight with you today. I am here to invite Brother Wang to the Holy Master Mansion for a chat. Lan Juyo raised his thick eyebrows and stared. He came in front of Wang Kai with a chuckle. He even raised his arm intentionally and knocked Dongfang Mo back by half a step. You, Lan Juyo, do you really want to fight with me? Dongfang Mo was furious. He raised his arm and punched Lan Juyo. Lan Juyo's eyes suddenly turned cold. He turned around and punched Dongfang Mo bang. Bang, bang, bang. Both of them took a few steps back when their fists collided. Their strength was on par with each other. Chapter 422. So what if we have a fight? I, Lan Juyo, have always been fond of fighting. I'm looking for an opportunity to break through. Lan Juyo laughed. Looking for an opportunity to break through? If it was so useful, you wouldn't have failed to break through 179 times, right? Dongfang Mo despised Lan Juyo. Although he wasn't afraid of fighting with Lan Juyo, it was more important to rope in Wang Kai. If he could make use of the path of providence, it wouldn't be difficult for him to break through to the honorable realm. Thinking of this, Dongfang Mo said coldly, Lan Juyo, I don't have time to be calculated with you today. If you want to fight, I will accompany you at any time. Haha, do you think we won't fight just because you said so? All right, I will entertain Brother Wang. There is no need for your highness to worry about it. Lan Juyo shrugged and laughed. You, Dongfang Mo's eyes darkened. He didn't expect Lan Juyo to be so unreasonable. If Wang Kai really went to the Holy Master Mansion, wouldn't Lan Juyo break through to the honorable realm soon? Both of them were old enemies. How could such a thing be allowed to happen? Brother Wang, my name is Lan Juyo. I am the young mansion master of the Holy Master Mansion. I have just received news from Junior Sister Gu, so I am here to invite Brother Wang to the Holy Master Mansion. Lan Juyo cupped his fist and smiled. Junior Sister Gu invited him? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard that. He couldn't help but recall quickly in his mind. However, after thinking for a long time, he couldn't find any connection between the spiritual avatar and the Holy Master Mansion. Initially, he thought it must be the spiritual avatar that caused the trouble. Now, it seemed that it wasn't the case. Junior Sister Gu, God, could it be the Holy Lady of the Holy Master Mansion? It must be. The Mansion Master of the Holy Master Mansion has never accepted any disciples. His only successor is his son, Lan Juyo. However, 2 years ago, he accepted a lady as his disciple. It is rumored that the lady's talent isn't outstanding. However, she is very powerful in array restriction. She is also the Mansion Master and the Deputy Mansion Master of the Holy Master Mansion at the same time. Her identity has become the Holy Lady of the Holy Master Mansion. Many cultivators began to whisper into each other's ears as they discussed. Lan Juyo, on the other hand, was not very touched by this. On the other hand, a thick love flashed across Dongfang Mo's eyes. Since it's Miss Gu's invitation, Brother Wang should go. However, this crown prince also wants to go. Dongfang Mo smiled faintly. Everyone had a strange expression on their faces when they heard this. They knew that Dongfang Mo liked the ancient goddess. However, he did not expect Dongfang Mo to like him so much that he was willing to share something as important as the path of providence with him. On the other hand, Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. He couldn't help but ask doubtfully, "Oh, is this Junior Gu that Brother Lon is talking about? Could it be that he knows this sect master?" Hee. Although this sect master is popular in the world and often attracts the admiration of thousands of beauties, Bin Xiao has never looked at any of them. Therefore, I asked Brother Lon to introduce them. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the corners of everyone's mouths twitched violently. Even Lan Jiuyo and Dongfang Mo turned pale. They did not expect Wang Kai to be so good at bragging. Brother Wang, the holy lady of the Celestial Master Mansion, is my future crown princess. Please watch your words, Dongfang Mo said in a low voice. The killing intent in his eyes was extremely strong. Lan Jiuyo snorted and said in a slightly cold tone, Brother Wang, Junior Gu is the holy lady of the Celestial Master Mansion. She is also the face of the Celestial Master Mansion. Such a scene and such words caused Wang Kai to raise his eyebrows. Looking at the two of them, it seemed that they liked the ancient goddess very much. Could it be that this was the reason for their hatred? Haha, both of you don't have to worry. It's useless even if the ancient goddess admires me. Just as I said earlier, there aren't many women in the world who can catch my eye. So, both of you don't have to worry. This sect master won't fight for her with the both of you. Wang Kai shrugged and acted as if he was very loyal. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and attaining the 9th rank of the Downlord realm. Swoosh! On the other hand, Dongfang Mo and Lan Jiuyo's expressions were shockingly livid to the extreme, and they didn't conceal the killing intent in their eyes any longer as they glared at Wang Kai. No matter how good their tempers were, they would still go mad after their bottom line was touched. Not to mention that Wang Kai's words were really infuriating. Lan Jiuyo, this crown prince thinks that we should put the matter between us aside for now. Let's bring this kid to the exalted celestial mansion first and utilize his Tao of karmic luck to assist us in breaking through into the exalt realm. All right? Dongfang Mo spoke coldly. Lan Jiuyo nodded lightly when he heard this, and then he glared at Wang Kai with an icy cold gaze as he said in a low voice, That's exactly what I was thinking. A mere ant from the countryside dares to pretend to be someone from the central wilderness, and he even doesn't know what's good for him. Since it's useless to give him face, then there's no need to show mercy. Wang Kai is finished now. Everyone shook their heads and sighed in their hearts, while a wisp of ridicule appeared in their eyes. All the cultivators present here naturally didn't have the courage to coerce Wang Kai. After all, the Eastern Imperial Court and Exalted Celestial Mansion were superior to them. However, Lan Jiuyo and Dongfang Mo were different. The powers they belonged to were at the peak of the Eastern Wilderness, so they didn't have to fear anything at all. If they couldn't negotiate amicably, then they were entirely capable of utilizing force. In this regard, Wang Kai naturally knew very well. He dared to be so arrogant because he was certain that they couldn't do anything to him. After all, they still needed the path of providence that he had cultivated. Now, he somewhat understood their purpose. Did they want to use the path of providence to break through to the exalted realm? However, how could the path of providence help a cultivator to break through to the next realm? Aren't the two of you too good at acting tough? I'm so strong that I can smash the heavens into pieces just by straightening my back. With just the two of you in the Tao God realm, don't tell me you want to become dregs. Wang Kai had one hand behind his back, while the other hand was gently fanning himself. He looked extremely leisurely. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Arrogant. What nonsense are you talking about? Capture him and bring him to Miss Gu. Swoosh! Swoosh! In an instant, Lan Jiuyo and Dongfang Mo flipped their palms and grabbed onto Wang Kai's left and right shoulders. Absolute rebound, divine shield. Wang Kai activated his thoughts and said, "Congratulations to the host for successfully receiving the absolute rebound, divine shield. 100 bragging points have been consumed. Host, the absolute rebound divine shield can only be used once." Buzz. Suddenly, a circle of golden light shield appeared around Wang Kai. Lan Jiuyo and Dongfang Mo, who were attacking him, bent their palms and exploded as if they had been struck by lightning. Their bodies even took a few steps back. Whoosh! As the golden divine shield disappeared, Wang Kai stood proudly and scathed. He fanned himself and looked at them with a mocking expression. He said with a playful smile, "Even a sovereign expert couldn't withstand one move from me. With your mere Tao God realm cultivation, you're not even into my eyes." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the first grade Tao King realm. Chapter 423. Such a scene instantly shocked everyone to the point their eyes bulged out, and they stared at Wang Kai with extremely astounded expressions. No matter how they imagined that two Tao gods would be unable to even defeat a Tao King realm expert. What the hell is going on? Crown Prince Dongfang Mo is the leader of the younger generation in the East Royal Court. Lan Jiuyo is also the leader of the Celestial Master Mansion. Why are they so weak in front of Wang Kai? Isn't he cultivating the Tao of Frost and the Tao of Providence? What kind of Tao skill did he use? Impossible. He is only a Tao King. Even if he cultivated other Tao skills, he is no match for Crown Prince Dongfang Mo and Young Mansion Master Lan Jiuyo. That's right. That's right. He must have used a dermic weapon to fend off the attack. Many of the top powers looked at Wang Kai fervently. Not only did he possess the Fate Tao, but he also possessed a powerful dermic weapon. With the combat strength of a Tao King, he could render a Tao God helpless. The power of a dermic weapon was evident. Currently, Wang Kai was like a mountain of treasures in the eyes of the crowd. Wang Kai, since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being merciless and breaking your legs. Dongfang Mo said in a deep voice with a pale face. He looked at his shattered palm. Although his flesh and bones were gradually recovering, the pain and humiliation still stimulated him. Lan Jiuyo's face was also cold and terrifying. He was a Tao God and the young mansion master of the Celestial Master Mansion. How could his palm be shattered by a Tao King? Your physiques are not weak, right? You can still recover. TSK. Aren't you asking for trouble by doing this? Shatter and recover, recover and shatter again. F*CKU. Even if you don't find it troublesome, I can't be bothered to waste my time with you. Wang Kai snorted coldly. He had never thought that their bodies would be able to recover after being shattered. Furthermore, that speed was definitely not slow. In less than 10 breaths, the shattered palm had already recovered completely. Haha, Wang Kai, I have long heard from Junior Sister Gu that you came from the barren, immortal martial domain. The strongest physique you have is merely a spiritual body. Since you are still useful, I will tell you that above the spiritual body, there are the saint body and the divine body. And I am the divine body. Lan Jiuyo laughed sinisterly. As the sound of her voice faded, Dongfang Mo's gaze instantly sank. Earlier, he had already sensed that something was amiss. Now that he heard it again, he couldn't help but ask in a low voice, same as Miss Gu. Did he come from the immortal martial domain? This Wang Kai actually came from the immortal martial realm. The immortal martial realm is merely a barren land with the strongest experts at the immortal emperor realm. His talent is so weak that he can't even be compared to an ant. How did he manage to successfully cultivate the Tao of Fate? He's actually a liar. You even said that you came from the central wilderness. As expected of an ignorant cultivator from the countryside. It took him more than 2 years to reach the level of Tao King. His talent is really weak. If he didn't cultivate the Tao of Fate, I'm afraid he wouldn't even be able to reach the level of Tao King, right? Everyone looked at Wang Kai with even more disdain. Their previous thoughts of fawning over him had all been dispelled. In their opinion, Wang Kai had already angered Dongfang Mo and Lan Jiuyo. Even if he didn't die, he would be reduced to a tool for the Eastern Royal Court or the Celestial Master Residence. 2 years ago, she came from the immortal martial domain. Surnamed Gu, she knows about formations. Are you talking about that little girl Gu Bingning? Wang Kai furrowed his brows, staring at them with a strange expression on his face. As for the disdain of the crowd, he directly chose to ignore it. In Wang Kai's opinion, any scolding and any contempt was only temporary. There was no need to care about it at all. Little girl, Gu Bingning. Everyone's expression instantly stiffened when they heard that, especially when they saw the furious expressions of Dongfang Mo and Lan Jiuyo. They were even more speechless. While they looked down on Wang Kai, they couldn't help but admire him at the same time. Not many people had the courage to court death like him. Break his legs, cut his tongue, and blind his eyes. Leave his arms for the time being so that we can use the Tao of Fate. Dongfang Mo gritted his teeth and said, "Buzz." Suddenly, a long sword that was shining with cold light appeared in his hand. As soon as it appeared, a piercing gust of wind appeared. The gust of wind swept past, causing those cultivators below the Tao God realm to be cut into pieces. Their clothes were torn, and their flesh and blood were tumbling as they fled in panic. Tao of Wind, Tao Artifact, Wind-Running Sword. It will be difficult for Wang Kai to survive this time. Crown Prince Dongfang Mo cultivates the Tao of Wind and uses a Tao artifact. As a Tao God realm cultivator, he is superior to Wang Kai by several levels. Even if he has a supreme weapon, it will be absolutely difficult for him to resist. In the end, the remaining experts, the weakest of whom was at the Tao God realm, all retreated to a distance. There was a layer of barrier in front of them, blocking the raging gust of wind and the sword blade. Dongfang Mo, stand down. His legs, eyes, and tongue belong to me, Lan Jiuyo. Lan Jiuyo scolded sternly. With a flip of his hand, he took out a red long spear. Immediately, a pressure that was not inferior to the wind-running sword swept out. The flowing blood-red airflow caused the entire second floor of the inn to be immersed in a pungent, bloody mist. Plop. Plop. Suddenly, some of the Tao God realm experts rolled their eyes and fell to the ground. Even the barrier could not block the invasion of the blood. God-killing spear, Tao artifact, Tao of massacre. Many experts above the Tao God realm frowned and directly raised their hands to seal their sense of smell. Even if they were above the Tao God realm, whether it was the Tao of massacre or the Tao of wind, they could not pose a threat to their lives. However, the dangers still existed. Tao artifact, an existence above the divine artifact? TSK. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed. Then, he shrugged and chuckled casually. With a flip of his hand, he took out the pitch-black fire rod. Such a scene caused everyone's eyes to bulge. Even Dongfang Mo and Lan Jiuyo were stunned on the spot. Looking at the pitch-black fire rod, there were traces of being burned on it. It was even worse than an ordinary wooden rod. How could he have the nerve to take it out and embarrass himself? One doesn't seem to be enough for two people. Give me another one. Wang Kai shrugged and laughed mockingly. Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the Who Am I brand fire rod. 100 bragging points have been consumed. Swoosh. Patter. When another fire rod appeared in Wang Kai's hand, everyone's expression froze. The corners of their mouths could not help but twitch violently. Using a fire rod to fight against the Tao artifact? What was this Wang Kai thinking in his head? Even if he wanted to die, he shouldn't do it like this, right? Don't just stand there and watch. Weren't you very good at acting tough just now? Come. Now you can attack. Let me hit each of you with a rod. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and waved the fire rod. His expression was rather mocking as he shouted arrogantly. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.